Crossover.
Oh, killer crossover.
Just crossover.
It just crossed him over. Danced to another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
And the crossover brought to you by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com.
Dang. What's up with your boy?
That was abrupt.
With his headphone thing all the way up.
Or was it really loud?
It was up to 1 billion.
Yeah, so I can't figure this out either. I don't know who sits in this chair. Well, I know nobody did last night because Josh was gone yesterday, right?
Yeah, but Jimmy was there.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy.
Yeah, it was
blame Jimmy.
It was a little jacked up.
That's okay.
Like it was a little loud.
What's
going on?
Yeah. Gary's here.
Yeah.
And then there's Gary.
Here, we're just talking about your headset, your headphone volume.
Apparently you have your volume up a little bit loud.
1 million.
So?
I'm just saying. Maybe.
So no.
Connor's ears are blown out.
Okay, so I admit that. I may be a hard of hearing because I think it's from wearing headsets doing ball games for umpteen years.
Doing ball games.
Yep.
So my hearing goes down. And if you guys ever are with me on a broadcast, I have it cranked up.
Yeah, I like to turn it up too.
My TV guys just hate that. But I am not turned up as much as Nick Baugh was.
Oh.
Like Nick,
really?
Nick had it cranked.
Now,
And
did
Nick
he
would
use
go
buds?
after me.
Did he use
He
buds?
was a buds guy.
Okay.
And see, I always thought buds.
Buds guy too. I don't like
between
the
the buds and the
covers.
cans. I know the levels vary, so it's okay. But every time I put my plug-in over here, whoever has it the day before, like whether it's Josh or Jimmy, my gosh, it's loud.
Here we go.
Get more breaking news.
Hang.
Oh, okay.
Now I have a question for Gary Sharp. Gary, what do you think about the off season now? Can I interest you in a little off season, Mister? I don't like the off season.
I just want games.
Wrong.
Boy, do we love drama though.
Oh, he's trying to work his way out.
No. Because I had a little fatigue. The month of November wore me out.
Yeah.
Now
what?
Now I'm back.
Yeah. Okay.
I got text from Dylan Raiola. I think it was supposed to go to a fellow recruit. Hey, flip with me.
Did he say, "Hey, did he say, hey, Mister
Hey,
Gary"?
You guys think I'm joking? There's a flurry of, "Hey, flip with me."
I thought you meant he really did text you that.
No,
that'd been pretty amazing.
I don't have his number, and I would never like.
He's just doing a blanket text of everybody that's on his contact list.
But I'm afraid of Dad.
Yeah.
Right. You want to stay away.
Yeah.
I mean, you just want to give them their space during this time. Yeah.
So I want to know, like we're curious people. I can't wait to find out how this all has unfolded, because now as we are 15 hours after Chad Simmons, who is dialed in at Georgia, like drops a and we all go, okay.
Yeah.
Now, so Nebraska has been aware of this at least a day earlier.
Yep.
That on the weekend, on Sunday, Nebraska knew that this was happening because that's when the flip with me communication between fellow recruits has started.
Yeah.
So this is the 30 for 30 produced by Nebraska Public Media is going to be fascinating.
Do you think we'll know the details? Like, I don't think we'll ever get the exact details.
I think it will slowly come out because you will have to ask the question, why? And I think Rhule will want to promote this 8 days from now while he's announcing his second recruiting class of how this all happened.
Yeah. That'll be the first question he'll get during the press conference.
Why are you just a rebound, or how did this happen? And I think he will gladly explain it because he's always recruiting.
Yeah,
he's recruiting the next guy.
He'll explain it from his point of view.
Recruiting.
That's for sure. And their point of view is, now they won't say this, but I believe this is a big part of it. I mean, Nebraska at this stage of the game, and if there was ever some wiggle room with him in Georgia, it may come down to Nebraska is just more desperate at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like, the reaction from Georgia has been interesting over the last 40. I've tried to take in as much Georgia coverage as I can over the last 12 hours or so, and going back even, I guess, when there was buzz about this happening. They do not, they're doing the Georgia thing. It's like, we've won national championships. We are going to attempt to stay unbothered by this.
Yeah, but you know what? I think they can do that because of what they have in house.
Exactly.
And they're Georgia, and they can afford to lose a 5-star 8 days from signing day.
And that's
we'll
the
go
company
into the
line.
portal.
That's the company line that I've heard.
Well, I think that's
Georgia.
reality, and that's to be in a place like that. That's not bad.
No, it's not a bad thing.
So what you're trying to say is, thank you, Jeff Sims, for sucking. Because what if Jeff Sims was unbelievable this year,
right?
And he decided to come back.
Yep. Or at least he was not unbelievable, but he was serviceable.
To Nebraska from Jeff Sims.
Thank you, Jeff.
I was not very good, and it allowed you to have a wide open quarterback room in 2024.
And it just so happened that news was official yesterday that he was hitting the transfer portal. Yeah, what if they were like 7-5?
He must have been upset that Donnie was getting a contract extension.
He heard the news and knew that, okay, well, now I need to make it official because clearly this is probably the ship that's going to sink.
But if it was Jeff, like if he had played well this year.
What if he was like, but what if they were like 7-5, but he was like serviceable? Because I think if he played like outside of his mind, people would be like, oh, is he going to maybe?
Yeah, but he'd be back.
Try to go to the NFL.
He'd be back for 1 year, and Nebraska would be in the same situation that they're trying to get in with McCord right now. Is 1 year of
so
McCord.
you'd still get Dylan. But you would just, instead of McCord, you'd have Sims.
Oh, you'd have Sammy Levitt.
Theoretically.
Sammy Levitt.
You'd have your developmental piece.
Sammy slanging it.
Yep.
New Sun Devil.
You'd be able to make sure that a Purdy stuck around, that a Harburg was upright and attended meetings.
I'm good with that. I'll happily
attended meetings.
I'll happily say, I'd rather have you watched Dylan Raiola's tape? Have you seen the things that he's able to do with his arm?
Yeah, I did a lot of that in the spring.
Yeah.
Do you think did people did he get more hits last night? People like revisited his highlights.
I hope so. That guy is legit. And it's not just the ranking. Like that guy is legit. So I mean, over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about like what quarterbacks do for your offense and what kind of quarterback they're looking for in the cycle. Like this is a different level. Like he is.
True.
He changes what you are your ceiling as an offense. And
is that the goal?
Just imagine what that looks like in 2 years.
Yeah.
Or in 3 years.
I would just like I've had the fortune of watching a couple of full length games.
Yeah.
So you're not just watching highlight reels.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big boy throws and decision making. I just would like to see the consistency more that when I'm watching on 85% of the snaps, I know that's a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, but with him, like, so Nebraska's offense last year is a bad example just because that was it was so bad. But like what you were trying to probably do with your quarterbacks going forward was, all right, make the throws, point guard, and don't turn the football over.
Yeah.
With him, with Dylan, like you can live with some turnovers, you can live with some of the bad stuff because of the plays that he's going to make for you, because of the level of offense of where it takes you for the ceiling, right? Like you're like think kind of Spencer Rattlery, right? Like you can live with some of the bad stuff, but the good stuff is going to be game changing and program changing.
I just appreciate, because I think we've lost sight of this, and McCord is like this too, is the ability to throw wide receivers open. Like Dylan, that's a good football program that he just played in this past year, and they've got good pass catchers.
Yes.
But he threw a lot of guys open. Just the simple pitch and catch from a quarterback and throwing guys open has been so spotty around here that we don't know what it looks like.
Well, with McCord, it was going to be an upgrade from what it was last year. With Dylan, Dylan. I mean,
Connor, let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Oh,
when you say an upgrade from last year.
Yes.
I think you were.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you dive into this a little bit? Yeah.
You're an upgrade.
No, I'm not. I would not.
I think it is. I think it is a disservice to say that we would be an upgrade.
Yeah, that's true.
I just think quarterbacks playing quarterback would be an upgrade, period.
That's right.
I don't care who that quarterback is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And when you talked about making quarterback throws, like actually hitting the open receiver too. See this so many times. I've even seen in the NFL when you see backup quarterbacks now play, ones that are considered to be athletic quarterbacks. I was talking about this with Trubisky last week when he got the start. Same type of stuff that he was doing in Chicago. Talking about him, not talking to him. I don't think he would return my phone calls, but still watching the same old Mitchell Trubisky that was recruited, drafted as an athletic quarterback, athletic being the key part of that. and not having the emphasis of quarterback. When I watched him play for Chicago and then watched him again with the Steelers the other night, the same things. Wide open receivers getting airmailed. But yet making a spectacular play because he's able to extend a play with his athleticism and then being able to cut the field down and makes a tremendous throw. But the majority of the throws that are there where your receiver is open and it's what your OC does to scheme them to get open, that you're missing the majority of those throws, that you're airmailing them. That's why everybody was, when we were talking about Kyle McCord, everybody was getting so hung up on the inability to scramble and be able to give you that other dimension. I don't either.
Don't care.
I don't either. And to Gary's point, like we see that in college football. We see that here.
Just have a voice.
You don't care.
Don't care.
Response to tweets of "I don't care." Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do we care also of how wild yesterday was on Twitter? If you were a
people were
Nebraska,
losing their
if you had
mind.
interest in Nebraska football,
Yeah, but it went Nebraska's way. That we've had
I know,
wild
which
days like
which is
this.
just not. It's not normal.
There was like 4 things that happened. It's like, whoa.
I know.
These are all good.
I realized how many people I have muted yesterday
Nice.
by people that were responding to tweets that I was attached to.
That you had to
And
actually
I'm
click
like-
on their response.
Yeah, I was like, I actually brought a couple of people back from muting. They're like back in the fold. They're-
Right, yeah,
You
we're
took him out.
well when it's going well. We're all a big happy family here.
It was a nice change of pace.
Yeah,
You took him out of the penalty box. That a boy.
that's right.
I mean, it almost took away from the ability to enjoy dual NFL football last night.
Which at least was fun and dramatic to the end. I
You
don't
know
want
what
to say
is
they're
not
great
fun?
games, but they were good endings.
The Manning cast was entertaining because they were, I mean, the way that the producers juggled to have 2 games going on once.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins was great. I'm only tuning in to get Peyton and Eli. Okay. Because you're on a delay with guests.
Yeah.
And it's very awkward.
Yep.
They're on a delay with each other. That's
Not as bad though with guests, but you're right.
yes.
I didn't like that ABC would, push the split screen on you. You didn't have the ability to do it on your own. I could get behind dual Monday night games. I would like an hour stagger time, but they both started at 7:15, and they almost both went to halftime at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean I hadn't watched the Manning cast exclusively all year until last night. I thought that was the perfect place for it last night because there was 2 games that weren't necessarily that important or were that big of a deal, and they both ended up being good.
Good guess
and
lineup.
we have it's kind of like red zone. It's like
But what
Scott
was nice
Hansen.
too is if you were watching the end of the Green Bay game, then you watched that reach its finale, then you're able to go over and watch like the best part of the Tennessee game too at the end and see how that one was going to end up.
Yeah, where I thought about
it
turning
could
my
have been timed
TV
really
off
better.
after the first game, and then
Yep.
all of a sudden it was like, oh,
Hey,
Uh-huh.
how could you turn your? I mean, you watch Tommy DeVito. He has Johnny Fontaine as his agent.
Tommy
Yeah.
Cutlets.
Which ESPN doesn't know what a cutlet looks
Yeah.
like. They showed
No.
that thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Italians are going to roll over.
Yep.
But can we talk about, first of all, his agent who played in the Arena Football League
Mhm.
is like a legend on the East Coast of like high school football. He looks straight out of a mob movie.
Oh yeah, with the fedora on last night
Yeah, it
too.
looks like a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Have you ever met a true mob person or
Um,
anybody from the mafia, either in your family or a friend?
no,
Because I got a story.
I have not.
Ooh,
By the way,
story
it's
time.
Sean Stellato is the agent.
I played in the Arena Football League.
I would say that I probably have had.
Likes to change. Likes all black and chains.
Yeah, I probably had close encounters, but not like nothing that actually involved me. Go ahead.
So I didn't know this, and I didn't know they existed actually until the whole pace thing went down. I was having lunch with a friend who has a connection to South Omaha.
Okay.
And a person came in and they had a conversation. It didn't have a mob feel to me or a mafia feel.
Mhm.
Just has 2 guys that grew up in South Omaha that knew each other.
Yeah.
And they just happened to run into each other. And so they had this discussion about a lot of different things about people and businesses. And this guy leaves, nice guy, dressed well. He goes, did you know that guy? And I said, no. He goes, oh, you're not familiar with the South Omaha mafia.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm like, that does not exist.
Yeah.
oh no, it does.
So for the longest time, I just blew this off as my friend was just pulling my leg until I found out more about the South Omaha mafia is real.
There's people that
And
people
by the
are
way,
walking among us in this
because I'm
community.
about to go outside and my car. I love you. I love all of you that do things above the law.
You're upstanding citizens, and you contribute to our economy, our local economy and community. So
there are a few people walking among us in this community who could just make a call and have something happen for them. Whatever needs to happen for them, they can make a call. So they know people and they have connections.
So you guys have heard of the South Omaha Mafia? It's a real deal.
Oh yeah,
not like a it's not because
it's not
South Omaha.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
There's people who are in touch with the community. That's for sure. They know where to go. They know what to do. They walk into a place, you get a little special treatment. You take a mint on the way out. That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
I think you could be a mob boss.
I think I could. I'm not mean. I'm not direct enough. I'm not. I couldn't. I'm bad at calling in favors too.
You couldn't order a hit.
Yeah.
No. But I could pull off the kind of demeanor. If I had to do it for a short period of time. But actually playing the part,
where you got to be like definitive and kind of the take no BS.
Yeah, I'm too wishy-washy.
Yeah,
I'm not direct enough. But I could definitely pull off the look for a couple days. Not the look. I don't know. I'm bald and I got a red beard.
You got the red beard, the bald. That can provide an intimidating presence.
If you wear a cool hat, no one would know.
Do you like to wear rings? Do you like gold over silver?
No, I prefer silver over gold.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm too.
I should wear I should wear like a pinky ring on my right.
Yeah, pinky ring. That's pretty
give
loud.
Off a vibe.
Yeah,
certainly.
But it's got some sort of it's got something on it. You're like, what is that? Where's that from? It's like, I stole it off. I took it off of a dead.
You
guy.
need a sedan that is like really hard to park because it's so big.
Yeah, the long ones.
Yeah.
A really long,
like a really
sedan.
long caddy.
Yeah.
So now I got questions here because people are backing me up. There is a thing that says beware. How do you become a member?
You just want to join?
People want to know.
Well, there's probably a monthly subscription. Initially, it's going to probably cost you a lot, but then
free trial.
What is it? A collective?
Yeah,
free trial?
Yeah, it is. Hey,
they're recruiting players to Omaha South.
Where do you think the 1890 is starting to get all of a sudden this influx in cash? All right, they're everywhere, man.
There is some Omaha cash.
You've seen some of those facility upgrades at Omaha South. Come on now.
Do I need to go down to 6th and Pacific today?
Yeah.
And go to Orsi's?
Check out the scene.
It's the Little Italy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Check out the scene.
What if we went for lunch at Orsi's? Or there's another really good restaurant that is down there, and I've forgotten the name. It looks like a farmhouse.
Just a little house.
Just a little house.
Yeah.
That might be where we go for lunch to do an experiment here.
Yep.
Yeah, I miss that's part of what I miss about Rosenblatt. You get down there and you're like, who runs the show down here.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We don't get to experience that part of town much anymore, sadly.
It's
still alive and thriving.
We were in coming back from Rutgers on a baseball trip, and I was with Ben, and we were trying to get a bite to eat before our flight. We went over to some neighborhood out there in Jersey, and Yelp said it was good Italian food.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in there, and it was kind of like that, kind of like a house. When we walked in, it looked like the largest family I've ever seen. They were all eating, but everybody who came in, they were hugging the owner and getting a kiss on the cheek of the owner.
Yeah.
And then here comes us two yahoos, and then they sat us, and all of a sudden we kind of looked around us, and we were looking at the menu, and we realized we probably shouldn't be here.
No, they're welcoming.
No, I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were, but we were just like, ooh.
Just don't ruffle any feathers. Don't make any noise. But,
we snuck out.
Yeah, that's good.
We snuck out
because
you're
totally allowed.
But we weren't prepared for that before a flight and everything. Like it was gonna be a whole ordeal, and then we were probably gonna talk.
That's where I want to.
We were probably gonna talk to the owner for a while and find out what else they do.
I want to be at the place I went to a place over the summer, and
they would have known somebody in South Omaha tell us to say hi to them, and it was.
And I went to a pizza place in New York, good pizza place in New York, and we sat down, and it was it was me and my family.
Yeah.
And we go in there, and it's only people, like the bartender's talking to everybody. It's only people that go there constantly. Yeah. Guys talking at the bar. We start talking to the guy at the bar. Mm-hmm. My dad, had lived there for the majority of his life, so he started trading these old
Okay,
stories
yeah.
about, hey, you know this
Yeah.
guy, you know this guy. He's like, yeah, I know this guy. We ended up giving the last 2 slices of our pie that we couldn't finish at the end of it. He was very grateful. He was wearing a backwards Yankee hat.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing. And I felt like we left in good standing. It wasn't mafia. It was just like a little
I'm pretty
we got
sure-
inundated with the family style of the community.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we went into a family restaurant that probably had some connections to organized crime.
That's good.
I felt pretty confident in that.
It doesn't have to be
Bada
organized
bing.
crime. Maybe it's just family. You know, it's just. It's,
I mean, you think about one of the most famous in
this ain't business. This is personal. This is family.
Yeah.
That's-
Was Sopranos? They weren't in the Piscataway area where I know they were in New Jersey though. Yeah. We were more in the New Brunswick area.
We got a tweet here from Brandon. So now Connor Happer's ego makes him think he could be a mobster. When will it end? No, I just said I couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I could. I could maybe play.
No,
the
that
part
came
for
from
a
Gary.
couple-
Gary said you could be a good mob
And
boss.
Connor said maybe for a couple of days.
Maybe for a
Humble
couple-
mobster.
You said you would maybe go with the look for a couple of days.
Yeah, I could pass off as a person who was important in like a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I could hold my own there, but I couldn't do it.
Pinstripe black suit.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
do it day in and day out.
The Godfather. Just dressed like the guy from the Godfather
Then-
himself.
But then people know, like that's what I'm saying. You walk around in Omaha, it's like
We're just
it's not there-
stereotyping the crap out of
There's
this
not
right
that guy. There's not the guy walking around with a pinstripe suit.
right.
Unless he's hawking pizza.
It's just a guy.
Pizza and breadsticks.
He's got a real thick mustache.
Yeah.
Random Tuesday afternoon, just walking down the sidewalk downtown.
Apparently, if you go
Godfathers.
to one of the he'll like the Godfather will just be sitting in there. He'll sign autographs.
Oh,
for you.
Gary
He will.
sees him all the time.
Yeah,
He's always in
he-
character
yeah.
too.
Yeah, he's a fan of 1620.
For sure.
great.
Yeah, I love that guy.
So they used to do they probably still do in my neighborhood in Stinson Park, the corporate run. And I had just moved here. And so I was well aware of Godfathers, which someday we'll have a discussion about Godfathers when Willie, moved on,
Yeah,
what
Willie
happened to
Jason.
the pizza. Or why they don't have as many buffets, because I love the Godfathers buffet. I was just walking in front of the Godfathers over in Exarban Village, and there he was against the wall, just watching.
Yeah, he plays the part
And-
24/7.
And yeah, he does. And I was like, oh my God, this is like meeting Ronald McDonald. If you've ever met Ronald McDonald,
Yeah.
they have to be in character the entire time, and they have that goofy voice.
Oh, dude, I met
Yeah.
Ronald McDonald once.
Ronald McDonald
Oh,
freaked me out.
Ronald McDonald was
very
at
tall.
a Storm Chasers game a couple years ago. And
Were you emceeing the game this year where I convinced Alex to find the old Ronald McDonald in the archives and play it? The most terrifying thing you've ever seen.
No, I don't. Maybe I don't think I was. I was at the Ronald McDonald game this year,
Oh,
but
it was
like
fantastic.
a couple of years ago, I just went and I bumped into Ronald McDonald in the concourse. I'm like, hey, Ronald McDonald, let's take a selfie or let's take a picture together. I have the picture. He was like, and then I saw him later in the store. I was going to buy a hat, and Ronald McDonald was like, let me buy that hat for you. Ronald McDonald bought me a Storm Chaser, but like an old school Omaha Royals
Where
hat.
did he have the money?
I don't know.
No kidding.
He's like, let me take care of it.
He's like, put it on the plastic, just takes out a McDonald's card.
So, but the voice, right? So
yeah.
they've all. So there are. So to finish
Kinda
thing about
Mickey
the
Mouse-y.
guy from Godfathers, yeah, he lives here in town, but he's in character all the time.
Yeah.
There are less than 10 people that are qualified to be Ronald McDonald in this country.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
See?
But
Is
they
it a
have to have
certain
that
height?
voice. The voice. So in minor league baseball, we did things with Ronald McDonald House, and one night we got Ronald McDonald there for a backpack giveaway,
Mhm.
and that voice I was like, oh my gosh, because whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's very few people that
Yeah.
are qualified to be Ronald McDonald. But did he have a wallet?
I don't know how he bought it. I think he may have just like winked at the the person who was running the cash register, like, this guy's good.
You know I'm good
Like,
for it. You know
that's-
I'm good for it.
Yeah.
That's really good. Peter's part of the 10%.
Kind of Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Surprise!
Well,
I'm
it
one
is,
of the
yeah.
one of the 10.
It is very similar to Mickey Mouse, but not quite as high pitched.
But
So you got to
maybe-
bring it down a notch.
Maybe they gave Ronald McDonald like a couple $100 or something like that, and they were like, "Yeah, go
Spend
make some
it how you
people,
want.
go make some people happy."
Yeah.
And-
That's really nice. That's
and-
that's a lasting memory that you have of
Uh,
Ronald McDonald. Mine is I find him to be terrifying.
I'll tweet out or I'll find the pictures from a couple summers ago. I was just the happiest person in the world. He really did. He
It
spread
was a
smiles.
magical day for you.
That is great.
He spread smiles that day.
That's awesome.
It's a great day. Great day.
I,
But that's what I want. That's what I was trying to get the people at Creighton to give me like like a couple $100 on like a Visa card or something
Yeah.
like that, and
You
just
just
start
go
buying
around
people beer.
Getting some
At the Bud Bar.
doing the beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Nice.
how happy would I make people?
You'd be very popular.
Very, very popular. On Dollar Beer Night, I'm just standing there. Hi, everybody. First
Line up.
12
Yeah.
are on me. Great. Awesome. It's like you saved me $1. Thank you.
That's true.
But that's what it's all about.
UConn, by the way, is countering Omaha's Dollar Beer Night. When Creighton plays at UConn, they're going to do a $2 beer night. Because of inflation on the East Coast.
East Coast. That's pretty
So
much
when you go to
$1 beer.
Gamble Pavilion for the UConn Creighton game,
Oh no,
it's $2 beer night.
Oh, that's
gonna be rowdy.
that's horrible.
Yeah, it's
Swagger
gonna be rowdy.
jacking.
I like that. Swagger jacking.
Well played.
Come
You're on
on.
the board.
Come on.
Swagger jacking.
They are.
Yes, points.
It's like, they do a great thing in Omaha every year where they give out dollar beers and people come and they love it. And they usually have like a 9 o'clock.
Has Creighton
tip-off.
been stuck here, or Connecticut been stuck here playing on a $1 beer night? Because it gets a little rowdy.
I don't think
It's usually.
don't think we've had a
against-
UConn dollar beer
Isn't
night.
it usually against like
Like
lesser
DePaul?
teams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember a couple, like the Providence game is always a big game. I can remember one like against them, but yeah, it's usually like Tuesday night, 8 o'clock.
We won't take as much of a hit, but
Yes.
we do for the PR is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then Steve Lavin shows up and
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, was that the one? When was that?
but he likes wine. He doesn't drink the dollar beers,
Yeah.
but he's become the mascot of Dollar Beer Night. But
Yeah.
now didn't he get a coaching job
He's in
somewhere?
San Diego.
Yeah, so he can't participate anymore.
Yeah, we've all been in the world of minor league baseball. Those Thirsty Thursdays, and they have the cheap beer. Don't skimp, please.
No.
So the Thirsty Thursday, the last one I remember doing PA for Storm Chasers, Rob Sternberg was there too. And I remember him pointing out, it was in the basically right below the press box, a guy vomited into his dollar beer glass.
Sure.
Because he was obviously overserved. And apparently he also had dentures. And they went
He spit
in
his
and
teeth
they
out
had
too?
to help him get his dentures out of his wife was trying to help it.
sift through the junk.
Yeah.
That was a multi-person.
Yeah.
job.
This is like when Stava was there too, and they were telling us the story of what happened because they were like closer to the action. But yeah, Rob pointed out, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't need to see that.
We got a good email here from Matt. Most awkward entrance was in the Old Little Italy in Chicago. Walked in the restaurant with a friend, looked like Goodfellas scene. The whole place stopped and looked at us for about 30 seconds. We sat down, ate pretty quickly, but great Little Italy in Chicago.
Oh,
close
so
to
they still
basketball.
ate there. Okay.
It was right next to the United Center,
Well,
apparently.
And that was the kind of the awkward thing when we were in New Jersey is everybody was wearing like basically like either a suit or the ladies were dressed up like they all just came from church. Yet it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we just did a game, so we were still like in Nebraska polos and stuff. We stuck out like a sore thumb so badly. Like I didn't
You're
feel
gonna
like
get some looks.
I didn't feel like everyone was looking at us, but I just realized we didn't belong.
You guys aren't
So
from
that was
here.
the yeah. Let's
So you made an executive.
I feel like
Let's get
Sybil,
outta
who
here.
has had quite the stories when he goes to New Jersey, has probably had something similar running. We're going to need to ask him.
I just feel like you have to embrace it. Like if you're a tourist in a town and you're going to the tourist place, like be the tourist.
But see, we didn't
know?
realize it was going to be like, we just heard it on Yelp. This is really good Italian food. And so we're like, all right, cool. Yeah, we could go for maybe a little something different before our flight.
Oh,
and then we
but you
walked in
gotta-
and we're
what
like,
do you mean
ooh,
be the tourist?
I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
you got to embrace it.
okay,
You
be a
can't-
tourist in Omaha. You're going to Dinkers.
Yeah.
Sure.
True.
Okay, so what are you going to act like as a tourist there? Oh, I didn't.
I
know.
heard this place was awesome.
A
What
big-
I
a big
didn't-
burger
I didn't
connoisseur.
know that you guys only took cash.
You walk in with a giant smile on your face, and you're like, "Wow, this
give me the
is-
haystack.
This is exactly what I imagined."
This is so Nebraska. Look at that beef.
Yeah, exactly. And then you ask them, you're like, "All right, well, what would you get if this was your first time here?" Knowing that it's your first time here, and they serve you well, like they take care of you because everybody has this. We have pride in our own places in our own state.
That's
And if someone comes in from out of town, you want to show them a good time. And I imagine they would do that at all of our local establishments. We have to treat our tourists like they are one of us.
You ever
Yeah.
played tourist in your own town? Had a
No.
a staycation?
Oh,
I've stayed at a
staycation?
hotel in Omaha before. Yeah, that's fun.
I used to do that a lot when I would commute from Columbus to Omaha. If I had like a hockey weekend, I would actually stay in a hotel, even though I had family here and friends that I could have stayed with. I'm like, yeah, you know what? If you're going to put me up for a hotel, I'm going to let you.
Better choice.
Yeah,
there you go.
You go out in the old market, have a spaghetti.
Well, then,
Works or
so
something
then
like that.
Salad bar.
So UNO's Comped Hotel, they used to have it. Sometimes they'd put you over at the Marriott when they played CHI, but then they started moving you over by the Drover, which is
Love
is
the
it a DoubleTree now? There's that big hotel that's like right by the Drover.
Yeah. Is that
I think it's a DoubleTree. It might not be, but yeah. Then they started.
Well, the one right next to the one that burned.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think that exists. I don't.
Well,
think
then they had the
but
one
there's
over
a
by.
DoubleTree right there.
Then they had the one that is now a car wash that used to be Billy Frog's West. They had the
Everything's a
hotel
car
there
wash.
that they'd put you there too. So they started moving me away from downtown. I'm like, okay, this isn't as fun anymore.
How many times a year do you think the average Omahan eats at Spaghetti Works?
I just ate there last
average
week, so at least one.
Omahan probably less than 20%.
No, like maybe trips per year.
Oh, per year? A half.
0.025.
Yeah.
So you were just there?
I was.
I went in September because I played golf at Terra Hills, and it was like that. We got done like at 4. And
was convenient.
Like, let's eat. And it's right there on 84. So I'm like, okay, I haven't been here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I drive by that one, I don't get to the Old Market one very often. The one on 84th is always packed.
Jam packed.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Salad bar, all you can eat spaghetti. It's a nice, comfortable place,
Mhm. You know what you're getting.
but it is always busy. But what you guys just said and
Texas
what Peter and I
Roadhouse.
just said, I can't find anybody that goes there maybe once a year.
And we get that many out of towners or tourists
Yeah,
that
I-
want to go to Spaghetti Works.
I'm
apparently.
shocked that
Is that
people
an
in this
out-of-town
room
spot?
I'd say I probably go twice a year, and it's because of coupons.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm
If I have like a
assuming
$10 off.
I'm
that's why
assuming
we
Richard,
went.
you're
the great
free
town of
shopping at Bed
Ralston
Bath
is
&
not
Beyond.
fully embracing it as like, hey, this is one of our mom and pop shops in Ralston. We got to take care of this place.
No.
I feel like they're probably good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're doing well,
It's kind of touristy, isn't it?
didn't we just lose Johnny Sortino's? Or is that going?
I don't know if it's fully closed. I heard Johnny Sortino's has limited hours of operation.
Okay.
Like it's open from like
That's right. On their
like-
marquee, it's like odd hours.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
like
we're open from 3 to 7.
yes,
Amazing.
exactly. Yeah, it's like okay, we got a tight window.
So they kept it alive, which is
I
good.
think now that might have changed because I saw there was some like Infusion in Benson is closing.
Yes.
It's very
Yes.
sad to
they
see
are.
that.
According to the Google, Sortino's is open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 6.
There you
Okay,
go.
Closed
11 to
Sunday,
6.
Tuesday through
Yeah.
Could beat that dinner crowd.
Kind of a tight window.
Yeah,
nice.
you get the early bird special at 4. Get out of there. You still got plenty of time to take in the rest of your evening and get to bed early. They're just helping us out. Should be eating that kind of pizza a little earlier in the night.
All right. And enjoy your off-season chatter.
I'm fired up. I mean, I think everybody should be fired up today.
UTEP's got no chance.
Nope.
We live in a world where Shohei Otani makes $2 million a year.
Yeah.
And
Less than Joe Kelly.
yeah, there's 17 higher paid players on the Dodgers roster going into next
Who
year.
would have thought that, by the way? Yeah, Shohei Otani will make
Yeah, just-
$2 million annually until we get to 2034.
I'll make the $690 million after my contract's up.
yeah.
Considering the attention around Otani from people in his own country and then people that live in Southern California, will the Dodgers not have a sellout this year?
Will they not? Will they have?
I
a
mean,
game
they
that's
already
not sold
draw
out?
extremely
Yeah.
well. They will be packed.
They will be. I bet there's a couple of games.
That's what I was saying yesterday. Like they're
Oh.
gonna like $700 million. They're gonna make like $200 million off of just corporate sponsorships
yeah.
in the next like 30 days.
Well, and he's already estimated to make $48 million a year annually with endorsements.
Yeah, he'll
too.
do.
So
he'll
he's
do fine.
good.
Not worried about Shohei.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
What's the one endorsement he has here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I see his commercial every once in a while.
It's
Isn't it
like
like
hitting
a
home runs.
yeah? It's like a baseball type of brand.
Yes, yeah.
I
It's
don't know
not
what it
like
is.
a car or anything
Yeah.
specific. But I wonder now if that ramps up because he's now with the Dodgers.
But
Yeah.
but like companies from Asia will like be like, yeah, I'm big corporate sponsorships, whatever. They will
yeah.
come in.
the
They'll-
Asian companies that are based in L.A.
Forget about it.
Yeah, they're going to be fine.
They are
They're gonna be
just fine.
We're
Dodgers
gonna be
revenue
fine. We
sales are
didn't
going to
get
be
him.
really
We didn't get
good.
him.
No, we tried really hard.
I wonder how many fans at those games are going to buy a bunch of snacks and beer and then be like, you know what? I'll defer the rest of this payment
That's funny.
to like maybe the next game, maybe the next week.
That's funny.
And they still have layaway.
I don't think they do.
This time of the year, I always heard about layaway with my parents or buying gifts.
Yeah, Kmart was like, the
3
kings
months
of
interest
layaway.
free, you know?
So layaway is still a thing
Is
like at
it?
a department store?
I don't know.
I don't think so, but you could do like, you buy a couch or something like
I
that.
want to say the last place I knew that had layaway, because like Shopco and Kmart all had it. Does Walmart maybe do layaway? Or
have
their own
no
version
idea.
of layaway? Yeah, layaway was a thing.
Layaway.
It was basically like a glorified hold
Buy
with
now,
a cover
pay
charge.
later.
But
Yep.
That's the dream.
Mhm.
And that's what the Dodgers are doing. Layaway.
They are.
Do,
It is. Yeah, Shohei's on layaway.
The Dodgers don't come to Kansas City this year, do they? Because they went last year.
The Royals are going to LA.
That seems like a good trip for you and your wife.
Yeah, that'll be super fun to pay $1 billion to get into the stadium and then fight traffic the entire
Are
time.
you saying you'd pay more than what
You
they
might
pay
be-
Shohei annually?
Hey,
Yes.
You might be.
We finally found a
exaggerating the
parking
ticket
spot,
price.
and the
Well,
game's over.
For the Royals, it was either do you want a new stadium or do you want Otani? And they clearly they have chosen neither.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How do you feel when the
We can't
answer,
give you
the answer is
Shohei.
option C? None of the above.
We can't give you Shohei, but here's 5 sites that we've
What
been
if,
scouting
what if
out
that
for
was
10
a
years.
poll question put out on the Royals Twitter?
What do you want? Either way, there's going to be a 2% tax for
We'll
the
give
next
you
7
Will
years.
Smith, guaranteed championship.
That's true. Welcome back, Will.
Yeah, whichever team acquires him at the deadline is going to win a championship this year. That's for sure. All right, boys. Enjoy your afternoons.
You too.
What may happen today?
I don't
None
know.
of us know.
Can't wait.
That is the crossover powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. It's Tuesday. We'll start things off next.
Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
It doesn't seem like any of us are supper people in
I
here.
was a supper person.
I was
for a
too,
long
and I
time.
moved away from it. I hate supper. People who call dinner supper call lunch dinner, and these people trigger me.
Dinner is only lunch on weekend, on like a Sunday.
My grandmother would call supper a snack between lunch and dinner, and then sometimes dinner would be dinner, but dinner wouldn't be dinner. I didn't understand these etiquettes.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Turning chilly on Tuesday. Expect increasing cloud cover throughout the day. Can't rule out a few flurries later in the afternoon and into the evening. Highs in the mid to upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Looking for a unique gift for your friends and family? Any size gift card will fit every homeowner or gardener on your list. We're your one-stop shop and homegrown headquarters. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lenaha Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Severe for Ted and Wally's, 2 locations, one in Benson and one in the Old Market. Ted and Wally's wants to wish you a wonderful and great happy holidays. Make sure you grab a to-go holiday flavor or pick up desserts for pies and cobblers. Great, over 3,000 flavors over 35 years. Remember, Taste of New Orleans is in the Benson location as well. You grab you some food and grab you some dessert as well. Whether it's coffee beignet or ooey gooey cake, ice cream, hey, out of towners swing by as well. Benson, Old Market, tell them Severe sent you.
Take your home to the next level with Level countertops, cabinets, and flooring. If you have a kitchen, bath, or closet that is completely dysfunctional, now is the time to make them functional. Level countertops, cabinets, and flooring is your expert for taking your home to the next level. The staff will listen to your needs and dreams and create a unique space specifically for you and your family. Visit the showroom at 192nd and West Maple or online at levelomaha.com. That's levelomaha.com.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks. Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Happy holidays from your friends at DJ's Dugout. Nick Hanley here. DJ's is truly an Omaha tradition to gather with family and friends during the holidays to watch sports, enjoy delicious food, and have a great time. And a DJ's gift card is a great holiday gift idea, too. Thank you for voting DJ's your #1 sports bar again this year in the Best of Omaha Awards. DJ's Dugout is locally and Vietnam veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
It's the Connor Happer Show with Connor Happer and Josh Otson. Let's get ready to rumble.
Licensing of the phrase "let's get ready to rumble" just over the last 7+ years internationally is grossed approximately close to $400 million in retail sales.
Really?
You guys look like, what do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
On 1620, The Zone.
All right, welcome in. Happy Tuesday. It's the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer and the Peter Man.
Hello.
Peter Krenzer here today on the ones and twos as Josh Odson begins his trip to Little Rock, Arkansas, a lovely vacation spot around this time of year. He makes a pretty annual trip now as Iowa Western goes for a national championship tomorrow. So if the tradition holds, we'll be talking to Josh on Thursday morning in his mildly drunken stupor still. Just
with a new ring on the way.
Just sitting there with like a cigar and his legs crossed and a bottle of champagne in the other hand. Just like, yeah, I got no problems in the world right now. I'm basically Joe Burrow.
He's on top of the world.
Yeah, that would if the tradition holds, expect that on Thursday morning. Elsewhere today, yesterday was a wild day in terms of Nebraska football. We will get into all of it. Obviously, we'll get into Dylan Raiola, why, and then what happens next, and if Nebraska could sort of seal the deal here. But obviously, it feels very, very good for Nebraska right now, and maybe overnight, Nebraska's quarterback room has gone from what it was last year to having a really easy future map to see. All right, you got the quarterback from Ohio State who's going to play quarterback for you next year potentially, and then you have your next 2 to 3 years settled and ready to roll with potentially Dylan Raiola joining on. Of course, we'll talk about that. Nebraska also got more good news yesterday when Isaac Gifford and Bryce Benhart, in a very fun way, announced that they were going to return for their 5th and 6th seasons, respectively. Do you believe in magic?
That was a good video.
Yeah, it was a great video.
And the little sleeping pods.
It's good to see the youngs think about old time music. It was really refreshing. It was really nice. It wasn't just like a over edited hype video. They sat there in their sleeping pods. They're like, bro, you want to come back? And they're like, sure. And then Do You Believe in Magic came on. That was fantastic. So that was more pieces of great news yesterday. We'll get into the football from last night. We'll have a little NFL overreaction for you today, and we'll be reacting, of course, to anything else that comes our way. Today on the show, Max Olson of The Athletic will join at 11:30. We will talk about the portal with him. I'm sure he will have some sort of reaction to the news of Nebraska yesterday and how they kind of shook the college football world a little bit, or at least that's the way it feels going into this week and this weekend. But he's been all over the portal stuff and rankings and who's going where and sort of the trends and big picture stuff as it pertains to the portal. Max will join at 11:30, and we'll talk some hoops and some ears to the ground stuff with Jake Bigelow at 1:00. Huskers Illustrated, the Stretch Big Pod. We'll talk about Nebraska basketball's big win the other night and what's ahead for them. Like I said, NFL overreaction. We'll just go through the panic meter with a few teams that I'm interested in right now and where their panic meters.
The sky is falling.
Is it falling or is it not falling? We'll decide at 12:30. That's the lineup powered by the Rooferees, John Higgins Weather Guard. Want to hear from you guys on the show today, 402-951-1620 on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline. You could also tweet at Happer Show, at Connor Happer on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. You can email Connor at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank inbox. And we say good morning to our YouTube watchers today. Hello, or if you're watching along with us on the very convenient and very easy to access 1620thezone.com. Hello and good morning to everyone. All right, that's the show today. Let's take a break and give ourselves some room to maneuver here. We'll break down the events of yesterday. I think everybody who's a Nebraska football fan, the reactions were so interesting yesterday, and I hadn't seen the state of, like, the euphoric state of the fan base in quite some time. And obviously, I think there's some people who are still says like, yeah, let's just wait. Let's get that paperwork signed before we really throw a parade and celebrate. But if it all goes through and if it all turns out like it looks like it's going to turn out, Nebraska had a program changing day yesterday, a program changing day, and I don't think you can like underreact to that. That is, a quarterback is A1 in the program, and then you go from there. We'll sort of hit it from every angle as we return and get into the events and times of December 11th, 2023, when we return on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
Dear Santa, I hope you are having a good day in the North Pole. Is it cold all the time there? Is that why your cheeks are so rosy? I bet all of your reindeer are very excited. All right, guys. Is your beard long? My dad's is scratchy. My mom says I'm a good helper. But you didn't come last year. Was my chimney broken? Or did you forget? I do that sometimes. I just really hope this year when I wake up, I'm gonna see that you came to my house too.
Donate to Toys for Tots and help the Marines deliver hope to a child in need.
Need a feast to feed the family? Godfather's Pizza has you covered. Build your own feast. Choose a medium specialty pizza, a medium one-topping pizza, and a side, like my new bacon ranch cheese sticks. Freshly baked, loaded with mozzarella cheese, tangy ranch, and topped with an abundance of bacon. Do yourself a favor and build your feast today. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
Hey there, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Outdoor Nebraska update. It's hunting time in the Husker State. For a safe season, remember to be totally certain of your target and your background before you fire that shot. In a moment, ask yourself, is the bullet flight path clear? Is that a legitimate target? And what am I going to hit if I miss my shot? Please be careful out there. If you'd like more information on hunting safety, go to outdoornebraska.gov. That's outdoornebraska.gov. From wildfowl to owls. Great time of year to step outside and watch wildlife. Many animals are still active, plus the leaves have mostly fallen, vegetation is set back, and we'll have some warmer weather. Maybe you'll hike a state park trail or head to a public reservoir to do that. Oh, and don't forget your camera. Oh, it's on your phone. That's right. I'm Greg Wagner.
JTech Construction reminds you that this time of year, your home's energy efficiency is under tension. Don't let your windows cost you by raising your energy bills this winter. JTech Construction will come out and provide you with a free estimate on upgrading your windows and keeping your energy costs down. They have custom-made, energy-efficient windows that keep the outside out with the professional installation you would expect. Contact the official exterior and solar experts of the Huskers. JTech Construction, your exteriorexperts.com.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style.
When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
Brian recently had us tow his all-wheel drive Mercedes from another shop. He was told it needed a new transmission for over $4,000. As it turned out, the reason he had no Ford was because his front CV axle was bad. We replaced the axle for a few $100 and he was back on the road.
Transmission, shifting to running smooth.
At EasyCater, we know ordering food for work isn't as easy as it seems.
Lunch meeting is set for Wednesday.
We need food for 27 people. And it has to be on time.
Client is coming.
He's vegan. Messy eater.
Where's
White shirts.
You getting this?
Okay, what do we need?
Gluten-free. No more sandwiches.
Make sure there's enough. Make sure the food is hot.
Client has a hard stop at 12:30. Make sure there's plenty of spoons, tomatoes, and potatoes. Stay on the budget.
Lunch meeting? Just use EasyCater. Food for work delivered on time as ordered with a huge variety. 100,000 restaurants, one platform. Order 24/7 at easycater.com.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone.
All right, welcome back. More of the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer and Peter Krenzer with you today. And for the next 3 days, as Josh is in Little Rock, getting ready for Iowa Western's national championship game against Buddy Stevens and in East Mississippi Community College.
Of Last Chance U
Of
fame.
Last Chance U fame. A show that definitely accurately reflects junior college football. So yesterday it started. I mean, yesterday was already going to start off a pretty good day. Kyle McCord was visiting, Ohio State's quarterback from last year. Kyle McCord was visiting, and it seems like things have been trending Nebraska's way on that one, or at least the only buzz really connected to Kyle McCord was that of Nebraska, and certainly the most significant one. And it felt as if Nebraska had their quarterback for 2024, and it was going to be a pretty decent setup for them. And we'll see how they finish off the class, and then we'll see what they do if they're able to maneuver anything in the transfer portal, given their numbers crunch right now. But obviously a really good start to the quote-unquote offseason for Nebraska football. And then yesterday afternoon rolls around, and then a couple recruiting analysts hop in and they say, now, wait a minute. Nebraska's making a late push here, and some are even flipping their predictions entirely for Dylan Raiola to end up at Nebraska. You remember Dylan, Peter? He's a 5-star quarterback in the class of 2024. He is the son of Dominic Raiola. He's been here many, many times, including to a game this year, I believe the Northwestern game, for his little brother's visit, Dayton Raiola. At the time, he was, of course, a commit to Georgia after Nebraska gave him a long, long look and really threw out all the chips that they possibly could to get him. Nebraska since moved on from him in the class. I don't know about moved on. That might not be the right terminology, but they certainly went in a different direction as the quarterback is concerned.
They were preparing for life without him.
They were preparing for life without him. That's a good one. And they went ahead and extended the opportunity to open the door for WS Daniel Kalen, who was committed to Missouri at the time. And then it was kind of the summer of Daniel Kalen. And that's sort of where we've been sitting on the quarterback front for 2024. I mean, keep in mind this. I mean, your first full recruiting class, which this will be for Matt Rhule. I call the 2023 class sort of the transition class, even though it was most of Rhule's guys that he sort of put together at the end in his few short weeks on the job before they ended up having to sign in December of 2022 or February of 2023. The first big recruiting class that you have, your first full recruiting class, is a tone setter. We remember the 2019 class for Scott Frost and all of the things that Mike Riley had going for him in his 2015 class, or I'm sorry, his 2016 class, that was, shaping up to be pretty good. And of course, they sort of, just faded away over the years as things continued to not work out. But at all the time in the first full offseason, the second after the first full season, there's going to be some optimism. And there was already trending to be some optimism for Nebraska football going into this offseason. I think, the more people tear apart the season, obviously there was the football stuff and there was the disappointment of falling short of a bowl game. But I always thought that there was going to be, some pretty good optimism as this offseason went along and as they just grow and they progress with what they want to do as a program. This would kickstart it into a completely different gear. And Dylan Raiola, the aforementioned 5-star quarterback and the, depending on where you look, the 2nd or 6th or whatever ranked player in the country overall, is set to visit this weekend. He had been committed to Georgia for the last several months. He was there last weekend. Something happened. So whether it's NIL based or promise based, I don't know. We could explore each of those angles. I'm not exactly sure what went down at Georgia, but as we, as Matt Rhule does, he sort of left the door at least a little bit ajar, and they knew that, there was always a relationship there. And here he comes this weekend to visit and potentially commit and then potentially sign next Wednesday and then potentially be on campus in 2 weeks. And be available for you to watch for the spring game when that's set up in late April, which is kind of unbelievable to think about. So, first of all, as I said in the previous segment, Merry freaking Christmas.
Christmas is coming early, maybe.
Merry Christmas. I mean, I know there were some people who are still, and we got a comment in the YouTube, was like, Mark said, I'll just sit around and I'll wait until everyone is signed. Okay. That's fine. But this is certainly trending this way for Nebraska football at this point. And if it all goes well this weekend and whatever needs to happen happens, signed by next week and on campus in a couple. He had moved to Georgia. Dylan had moved to Georgia. Dylon, as we refer to him as usually, had moved to Georgia for his senior year of high school football to be closer and have more access to the program that he intended on going to help peer recruit and things of that nature. And that had all been happening up until this past weekend. So there's a bunch of different angles that I want to get to this, and I'll start here. And some people are being cynical about this, and I think it's fair too. And some people look at college sports now and they're like, yeah, well, it's all about the money, and there's really nothing else that needs to be said. And Bigley fires that off on our YouTube stream right now. It's all about the relationships, yeah, right, and then puts a dollar sign up there. So there could be a couple angles here, and I'll just kind of, I guess, speculate on what could have potentially happened. If it's on the promise side, if it's from a football perspective, I think Nebraska did a great job here, because Matt Rhule doesn't necessarily tell kids what they want to hear. They tell them the truth. And you could see that in their communication with Daniel Kalen, whether it's leading up to Kalen's flip and commitment in June, or whether it's right now. And that's how that sort of buzz gets out of there. There is constant communication. I think Danny Dimes, as he's being referred to by the recruit, says, he always seemed to sort of understand that their pursuit of Dylan Raiola, that Nebraska's pursuit of Dylan Raiola, was bigger than him. Now, whether he ends up signing with Nebraska, I don't know. Does he have other options at this point? Is Nebraska willing to take 2 quarterbacks at this point? That's something that needs to be sort of sussed out still. But it seems as if Nebraska may be a beneficiary of a situation at Georgia where maybe some promises were made and were not upheld. And I'm not talking about NIL in this case. I'll talk about the NIL part in a second. But this is just from me taking in the Georgia coverage over the last 12 hours, where mean, just like us around here, it's a rabid fan base, so you can immediately find about 17,000 podcasts or people commenting on the situation, and people who are kind of in the know as well. But you can look at a quarterback situation, you can look at a quarterback room, and figure out, all right, when am I going to be in competition in the right sort of frame of mind for the starting job. And maybe that was a thing that Kirby Smart during the recruitment, or Georgia during the recruitment. And keep in mind, Georgia's had a little bit of a staff turnover now. Maybe some promises were made about what's going to happen in the first year. Some of that involves their starting quarterback currently, who they of course really like. And so there's that piece of it. And then there's the NIL piece of it, which I think is really interesting. And I think it speaks to the larger picture between Georgia and Nebraska. And Nebraska wins the battle, I think, in this case. And I said it during the crossover, and I don't mean this as a bad thing for Nebraska. I think they're just more desperate here. I think it kind of means more to them. Georgia and NIL, from what I've been able to sort of understand, have really similar stances on NIL. They like to prioritize guys in their roster. They, if they need to go out, there is a pool of money for high impact transfers, but they don't necessarily want to wade too much into the waters of, you're a freshman and we need to win a recruiting battle, so we're going to pay X amount of dollars for you. I think Nebraska and Georgia approach things similarly in that regard. We've heard Matt Rhule talk about it, and I know Kirby Smart's talked about it as well. So with that being said, I mean, Nebraska could sort of look at this as a transfer and say, well, this would be incredibly high impact. And Georgia's response to this has been interesting over the last 12 hours, or at least what I've heard out of Georgia has been interesting on this over the last 12 hours. And instead of like, what do we do, and how do we make this right, and how do we make this conversation shift back into our direction, it's been a little bit more of like, yeah, we're gonna be fine. It's obviously a big loss. You don't want to lose the number one player in the country, or what some people call the number one player in the country in the class, especially late. It's kind of has an old school recruiting feel to it, by the way. But we'll survive. We are Georgia. And for Nebraska, this is a program changing, complete game changing moment. I don't think it would be for Georgia. If you get him or if you don't get him, it would be ho-hum. It'd be like, you get the number one player in the country. And I know recruits don't look at it this way, and families don't look at it this way. But from the outside looking in, that's how it feels, Nebraska and Georgia. Obviously, he's important, but it wouldn't be this game-changing moment to sort of get him. And I think Nebraska has that working for them. They could say, look, we come here, nothing's guaranteed. We've been clear on that the entire time. You're still going to have to earn it, but there's no doubt about it. This would pump so much energy into our program for where we're at right now, going into the second season, where optimism was already relatively high, and this would just shoot it into another stratosphere. And I think Nebraska sort of has that working for them, and there's an NIL component to that, and then there's a general overall feel to that as well. And when and we credit this staff over and over and over again for just keeping the relationship and staying right there, and understanding. I don't think there was ever like the intention of, yeah, we'll have a chance to get him on the back end, or yeah, we'll have a chance to get him out of the transfer portal or something like that. It was just sort of like, yeah, your family around here, you've been here 100 billion times.
Yeah.
We've recruited you. So you're a person and we like you. And
we do not forget about you.
Right, we're not going
to
forget about that piece of it. And so I think Nebraska's staff deserves some credit in that category. But what a gigantic win it would be. I mean, we've talked about, quarterbacks a lot, and I know people have had their opinions on my opinion on what I think a quarterback is supposed to do and what kind of quarterback they would be going for. And I've often said in this transfer portal cycle, and we'll talk more about this with Max in a few minutes, but like in this transfer portal cycle, there probably wasn't a guy who would elevate your program to the standard of like, this guy is a quarterback and this is what he does. And he elevates you just with his arm and the decisions that he makes, and like a 5-star, he's the Caleb Williams of the cycle. So Nebraska's, perspective on this has been like, all right, let's go get a quarterback who can, out of the transfer portal, who can make the right plays, make the right decisions, obviously elevate our offense from what we had been last year, but not necessarily this, game-changing type of guy. And this Dylan Raiola would be a different story. This would elevate your program. In fact, it could elevate your program to the point where he comes in and maybe there's some late back end recruiting done and peer recruiting done for Dylan Raiola. And so there was that piece of it yesterday as well. And then there was the Donovan Raiola part, which people are going to try and point this out that he got a gigantic raise yesterday and an extension, and probably he'll get a job title thrown on there as well. Maybe something like run game coordinator, something like that. When your salary goes from $175,000 to $500,000, and that news happens on the same day that your nephew, is thinking about coming to Nebraska, people are going to be like, well, that's interesting. This has been in the works. And we talked about Donovan Raiola as one of Nebraska's most important assistants going. And I know it's been a tough adjustment for people given what the conversation was around him 1 year ago from this point. But that was another thing. And then there was the Isaac Gifford and Bryce Benhart news that they are returning back to school. So momentum is, as much as we poo-poo it, as much as we talk about offseason national championships and hanging the banners and how Nebraska's done it, and it hasn't sort of relayed itself to on-field success. Give it to me.
How can you not be excited?
Like, you don't say no to it. You don't say no to momentum.
No.
And I think now is a really important time in between year 1 and year 2. That's when you take the jump. The coaches have their feet underneath them a little bit. They have a better understanding of the territory that they're in, the roster that they have, and what they need going forward. This is a really, really important time. So you're telling me that momentum, you're so sick of the offseason conversation. You're so sick of winning national championships in the offseason, and it doesn't compare. It doesn't, it doesn't relay itself, like I said, into the season, that you're just going to say no to the offseason momentum. I'd rather feel good than bad. And I think Nebraska at this point is kind of operating from a position of strength, obviously. So that was all wrapped up in yesterday, and Nebraska, kind of overnight might go from having one of the worst quarterback rooms in the country. And we have time to talk about rooms and all this stuff. Your starting quarterback is the most important piece of it. But even that, Nebraska, I think everybody would agree that they did not necessarily have that all settled last year either. They might have one of the worst quarterback rooms in Power 5 to one of the best situations they've ever had sort of overnight with getting, if you were able to finish the deal and get Kyle McCord from Ohio State and then get the commitment from Dylan Raiola flipped on the backside as well. And it sets up really, really well. People asked yesterday, how does it affect McCord? I don't think it does. Obviously you have him in a situation, and like I said, I think Nebraska's been honest about that the entire time. They didn't know who was going to be there and what it was going to look like, but they've been honest with Dylan Raiola up front about what the situation would be, and maybe they found at Georgia that it was a little bit different the closer they got to signing day. Or at least that's what I've been able to sort of parse through from the coverage coming out of Georgia over the last 12, 15 hours here. All right. Want to hear from you guys. 402-951-1620 on the 42 Degrees, the Source hotline. We'll take a couple of calls here. Max Olson will join us at 11:30. There's endless angles that we can get into this from, which we will throughout the remainder of the show today. So stick with us. Well, let's take a phone call here from none other than Triggered Bob. Hi, Bob. What could you possibly be triggered about today?
Well, Hap, if you can believe it, I'm triggered that I'm actually happy.
You're triggered that you're happy. Okay, explain.
Help me figure this out. After the season, when we didn't make a bowl game, I said 0 Kool-Aid this offseason. Have 0.
Why do you want that?
And-
Why do you want 0 Kool-Aid, triggered Bob?
We've been, not just me, we've been so disappointed because we win the national championship every offseason, correct?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, we're getting multiple 5 stars on the team, and Justin Fleming's thinking about coming. Trevor Etienne's going to be in the backfield. I'm starting to become Kool-Aid man. So help me understand how we went from 0 to 100 real quick, as they say. Thanks, Hap.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. And this is a common thing that I've heard over the last few hours. Like, why are we supposed to believe now? You just do. Like, I can't explain it to you any other way. Like, if you're scared of diving headfirst into the water because you're scared of getting hurt again, like, I don't know what, like, I don't know how you sports fan. I don't know how to do.
Because what's the alternative?
Every single year you'll hear me on this show talk about the Royals in March and say that they're going to go over on their win total and they might have a chance to make the wild card. Every year I'm wrong, but every year I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep doing it for the rest of time because
That's all we know.
That's how I choose to intake my sports. It's the same thing with Nebraska football. I would much rather have the offseason momentum than not. I would much rather have good things happening to the program, even if it's just the smallest things here and there, even if like guys coming back onto the roster or, you know, those are big picture type of deals, or getting a assistant coach from some, like whatever it might be. I would much rather have the momentum than not. So if you're trying to make the case that the momentum, that the offseason, you know, hype train has been part of what's made the football so bad during the season, I just completely disagree with you. The football is bad because the coaches have been bad. We don't know if these coaches are bad yet. So I'm going to dive head first into the water every single time, especially, and once again, especially at this moment. We don't know what this coaching staff is going to be yet. I have confidence in them. I feel like they've checked a lot of boxes for me so far. But like we don't know what it's going to be. It's the same thing, you know, after the first season of Frost is like, yeah, year 2, we get a Heisman contender at quarterback, and we liked they won 4 out of their last 6 games to finish up the 2018 season. Like, I feel really, really good about this. I'm going to keep feeling good about this until it stops feeling good. I don't know any other way to do it. I would just rather have it than not. I would rather have the.
And I think that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah.
In a decade of a lot of gray clouds, when there's a little sunshine, why would you not want it?
Let's see here. We got some tweets here. Triggered Bob is now Kool-Aid Bob, says Steve. Joe writes in on the Happer Show on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. What offseason national championship have we won? What is the highest ranked recruit we've gotten? What is the highest draft class we've had in the last 10 years? We've had transfers and recruits that gave us hope for the next season. Absolutely. Are you talking about the previous like offseason national championship? Are you saying that Nebraska's hung banners erroneously for offseason national championships before? Like, it doesn't, like, you could convince yourself of anything. That's what the offseason is there for. That's what being a fan is there for. Like, you follow it. If you follow it every day, if you're listening to 1620 The Zone right now, you probably follow it every day. You're probably reading like message boards. You're probably reading all the hype. You're listening to everything that coaches are saying, and they're out on recruiting trips and stuff like that. You're paying attention to the little things here and there. And if your response to all of that is like, if your response to all the coaches selling their program and their belief in the program and in what they do is like, then we just don't think the same. Like that's just not how I just have a rosier outlook on life. Has that burned me before? Of course, but I'm still alive. Like it's not
We're
like
still standing.
It's not like I die because I dive into the pool and break my neck, like metaphorically. No, we dive into the pool and break our necks, not literally. And it's all like we live another day, and then we just keep diving into the hype train. I'm fine with it. That's the way I'm going to continue to approach it. Let's take another phone call here from Gary on the 42 Degrees Source hotline. Gary, what's up?
Nothing. some reliable, I can't say reliable, but some sources I'm getting from text messages today in answering to Gary Sharp's question, who could be the gentleman that is influencing these decisions. Have you ever heard a guy by the last name of Peterson that apparently is a quarterback guru that has worked with McCord and is currently working with Mr. Raiola?
I believe his name is Christensen, but
or Christian, that's okay.
yeah.
Just wondering if you guys have heard anything about that. That could be the possible golden button as to why these changes have happened over the last 24 hours.
Okay. Thanks for the call,
Thanks,
Gary.
guys.
Yep, appreciate it. So I don't know if that would be if I'll say this. So independently of all this, I think I think there is still a window of opportunity for Nebraska to have a kind of staff shakeup, if you will, or at least a role shakeup. And maybe one of those options is to bring in a quarterback coach. Maybe it's a guy like that who would be an option. Maybe it's somebody else. But I don't know if that is necessarily like the impetus to all of that happening. I think what you've seen in Gary's text messages or on Twitter over the last 24 hours is people drawing conclusions that this guy has worked with all of these guys. So why won't Nebraska, why shouldn't Nebraska bring him in as coach? That's not currently what I am. He could end up being the guy. That's not currently the impression that I'm under, but I do think there is some room for Nebraska to shift some things around as far as roles are concerned. Maybe it just wouldn't necessarily be him, but you should still be excited about it. But once again, like this is the Dylan Raiola thing is not happening because Nebraska is trying to hire his personal quarterback coach. That's not why. I don't think those are those are not the waters that Nebraska is wading into. It's the same thing with Donovan, his uncle and Nebraska's offensive line coach. Nebraska, like Donovan Raiola is not getting a gigantic raise and potentially a title added on his coaching, his little placard on his office door because things are trending in the right direction for Dylan Raiola. That's not why that's happening. I think those things sort of happen independently of each other. And I want to talk about Donovan a little bit later, or anytime I suppose you guys want to as well. But like, I don't think that's happening as a result of this, and I don't think those things are the impetus to Dylan coming here. Dylan, if he wants to come to Nebraska, will make that decision on his own sort of accord. And in my opinion, it comes from the base of it, the center of it comes from something happening at Georgia. Something happening that just wasn't quite all there at Georgia over the last, week or so here. Let's take another quick phone call. We got Kurt on the 42 Degrees, the Source hotline. Hey, Kurt, what's going on?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
So, I wish I could keep up with scholarships and what we have available. Do you guys, off the top of your head, know how many scholarships we actually have available right now to hand out? And the second part of the question is, let's just say these two quarterbacks do fall into place. What do you think happens with Kalen?
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Kurt. Appreciate it. So the number is very fluid. Obviously, the number that you need to get to by the time the season starts is 85. I think Nebraska is, and they'll be over that when they bring in their 20-plus guys in the recruiting class and they bring in maybe a transfer or two. There has been some natural attrition already. I believe there will continue to be some natural attrition after spring ball. Will it be enough to get you down to the exact 85? My guess would be it's going to be close. And then if you're in the range, then you have these things called NIL scholarships, basically, where it allows you to not technically carry more than 85 scholarships, but you can make sure they're whole and they don't have to pay for their school. They're making enough money to pay for their school with NIL deals and things of that nature. So, I mean, personally, like, I'm only worried about the numbers from a perspective of how much flexibility does Nebraska have to add and subtract, or I guess add over the next couple months here. Because I think if a good player falls into your lap, you have to always have you always want the ability to say, yes, absolutely. We have a great upstanding relationship and we want you and we would take you on our team anytime. Like, you always want that flexibility. But as far as the actual numbers of, like, when it gets down to 85 and we're talking about the haggling between the 86 and the 87 and the 88 and then the 85, like that's something that has gotten a lot more flexible over the last several years, a couple years, I suppose. It's gotten a lot more flexible, and I'm not particularly worried about it. I'm not. I think Nebraska has already done a pretty fine job of thinning out their roster, trimming down their roster a little bit. They will continue to do that. There will be more attrition, whether it's in the next couple weeks or after spring ball, because the portal is still open, and the portal will open again after spring ball. And so I don't know. I'm not particularly worried about the numbers. As far as Kalen is concerned, I don't know. I'm not sure if Nebraska is willing to take two quarterbacks in the class. We don't know that. Obviously, there's 8 days until signing day right now. But I credit the staff and I credit Daniel Kalen for sort of working with each other. And I think Daniel Danny Times has always known that sort of Nebraska's pursuit and recruitment of Dylan Raiola has always been maybe a little bit bigger than him and comes sort of outside of his kind of sphere of influence. So what happens with him? I don't know. If I had to guess right now, the way it looks, I think Dylan Raiola seems like he'll be part of the class, and Daniel Kalen probably won't at this point. But maybe there's a spot for now. They have Matt Rhule has told him, like, hey, look, we're going to honor your scholarship. Like, you can have a spot here. But it's up to him. Obviously, his situation has changed completely if Nebraska's bringing in a quarterback who is his age and is viewed as a better player than he is. That's not what he committed to. Now, what's your priorities if you're Daniel Kalen? Do you want to go to Nebraska no matter what, or do you want to explore your options over the next few days? And then the other question is, like, where's the spot? If, some of this is just about, like, if you are looking around, if you're Daniel Kalen, you are looking around and you're asking, okay, is every spot that I thought I could once say yes to now gone and not available for me anymore? Maybe it's too late for that. But I don't know. With very little confidence, I guess I would say it feels like Nebraska's taking one freshman quarterback for the class of 2024. That's what it seems like to me. But I guess that'll play itself out over the next week. Kind of wishy-washy on that, but I don't think anybody really knows at this point. Let's see. One more phone call from Doug before we get to Max Olson of The Athletic here. Hey, Doug, what's up?
Hey, guys. Hey, if you think of what Nebraska has and doesn't have related to McCord, we do not have an offensive line that's proven. We do not have a running back. We do not have a receiver room that's established. We have potential. We have returning players. So be it. What we do have is like $1.5 to $2 million to pay the guy. I mean, he already has a resume. He's played it at one of the best programs in the country. He has a year to go before the NFL. I mean, he wants to. I mean, I hope we get him. I honestly do. But in my opinion, he wants to get a payday, which he was not going to get at Ohio State. Because
you're talking about McCord, right?
McCord, yeah,
okay.
McCord for sure, yeah. So he wants a payday. He could do great things here, absolutely. But I could see him go 4 or 5 games, through the non-con, and then in the first conference game gets hurt, and then he's going to sit till the NFL. I mean, he wants to get paid. So, but so be it. That's the world we live in. But I mean, that's why he wants to be here. It's not just because he wants to bring Nebraska back to dominance or something. It's a payday. So, but I want him. So, I mean, to be clear.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Doug. No, I mean, it's fair to look at the quarterback and we'll talk about this with Max in a minute here, but it's totally fair to look at the quarterback transfer portal game as transactional, right? He wants something. Nebraska can offer him that something. What is that something? I don't know. Maybe it is money. Maybe it is the opportunity to go play Ohio State and win. Maybe it is
an Amigos endorsement.
Simply a guaranteed starting spot going into 2024, an Amigos endorsement, whatever it may be. I think if you want to just sort of strip it all down, the quarterback transfer portal game, you can look at it as a little bit more transactional rather than the old school of hey, he's coming here because he believes in this, and he's, he loves the coaches and he has a great relationship with them, and he wants to see Nebraska be great again. Yeah, obviously, he wants that if he's going to be the starting quarterback here, but maybe that's not the initial intention of entering the portal. You enter the portal because you want to see what your options are, and then you figure out what your best options are. Quickly, before we get to Max, so I can't see the tweet because I'm muted or I'm blocked by Pat McAfee, but is Matt Rhule going on Pat McAfee's show today?
Oh, let's see.
So people have tweeted this at me, and I've seen people in the media do the hello thing. Oh, hey, what's going on here? Peter, man, can you tell me if Pat McAfee just tweeted out that Matt Rhule is coming on the show today?
We do have confirmation. Matt Rhule will be joining the program.
At what time?
Pat McAfee.
At what time?
Let's see. Let's listen to what. You know what? I've got the clip pulled up.
Nah.
You want to see?
Well, he might say
he didn't put it in the caption. He just said he will be joining the show.
Okay. All right. So
I'll keep an eye on that.
We'll keep an eye on that, and I can't see it because Pat McAfee blocked me.
Why did he block you?
I don't know.
Just
but
totally unprovoked.
Days like this where I wish I wasn't blocked by Pat McAfee and his arms.
You know what? They do air that on YouTube and ESPN now, so we could throw it up there and see when he'll be on there.
Yeah. That's a possibility. That's a possibility, but we'll just sort of monitor that as we go on throughout the show today. Okay, busy day. We'll still continue to recap all the things that happened yesterday, and what it means going forward. And we'll continue to take your calls and thoughts throughout the show. 402-951-1620. Coming up next, a guy who knows about the portal game, pretty close to it. Max Olson of The Athletic has covered this very, very closely. And we'll speak to him about Nebraska's situation and some of the moving pieces around the country as well. We'll come back with that next on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
DJ's Dugout Sports Bar is proud to support Creighton Athletics, and DJ's is the official watch party sports bar of Creighton basketball. Nick Hanley here for my friends at DJ's. Watch Creighton basketball on DJ's huge TV walls at 7 metro locations. Plus, enjoy delicious food and a Blue Jay lemonade cocktail, of course. It's an Omaha tradition. Cheer for the Jays at DJ's. Voted Omaha's #1 sports bar, locally and Vietnam veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
All right, welcome back. We're the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. From Omaha, Nebraska, the offseason capital of sports. We go to Lincoln, Nebraska, the offseason capital of sports as well. Max Olson of The Athletic joins us now on the 42 Degrees The Source Hotline. Hello, Max. How are you?
Breaking news on Dylan Raiola. I have no updates to provide.
Sad, but do you have a reaction on the happenings of yesterday?
I do. Appreciate you having me on. As always, buddy. You know, I was pretty blown away when Steve Wiltfong dropped that news yesterday. The number of texts I received from people with that tweet, probably it certainly far exceeded the Otani text I got, because people know I'm not a baseball guy. But no, that thing it blew my mind, and believe me, there's a lot of people like in the recruiting world, working on Power 5 staff and stuff like that, who texted me and they're like, "What is going on here?" It's a stunner. It's a stunner, and it's funny. I remember being at Nebraska, Michigan this year, and I believe Dylan and the family were back for that game, and I just remember talking to people who were just sort of shrugging, like, "Yeah, he's here. Let's not make a big deal out of it."
Yeah.
Maybe it was not over. Maybe it wasn't. And look, I think ultimately, like, signing day's coming up, deadlines for action. Maybe in some ways it's not surprising that we're going to have this conversation one last time, a few of the Raiolas, about where we want to end up. And I think Carson Beck's status has been kind of an interesting, kind of fluid thing over the past month. I think Georgia is one of those programs that actually was looking at transfer portal quarterbacks just in case Carson Beck was going pro. And if Georgia was in the playoff and making a playoff run, maybe Carson Beck is like playing his way into first round status here, potentially, right? So the fact they're not, and now it looks like maybe he is coming back, I think it kind of messed up the plans here a little bit, and now the Raiolas are reassessing.
Yeah, I mean that was my sort of reaction to yesterday. Like something happened at Georgia that was different from what he thought was going to happen at Georgia. That's just loosely sort of reading the tea leaves. And obviously Nebraska could be the beneficiary of all this. And they could go from they could go from having the quarterback room that they had last year, which you saw it, and now to having Kyle McCord and then the heir apparent within a week here, when they all sign on signing day next week, or whenever Nebraska gets a commitment from Kyle McCord. So let's just go to McCord, like in a vacuum. Where would you have had him, or where did you have him sort of on your ranks? His sort of reasoning for entering the portal, and then how big of a get for Nebraska would that be to get a 1-year stopgap guy like that?
I think if you had told, if we were like at the mid-season mark here, a month or two ago, and you had told Nebraska fans Kyle McCord's coming, that would be mind blowing, right? I mean, because honestly, the guy, like, you can definitely nitpick the game, and obviously when you succeed the NFL guys that have come before him, like, certainly that's a tough task, and that's going to lead to probably a lot of over analysis of what you're not doing right when you lose to Michigan. But I mean, the guy did lead them to 11-0. He wasn't as dynamic as Justin Fields. Obviously, he wasn't as effective as CJ Stroud, but he's still a pretty good quarterback. And I think that if the bar for Nebraska is Kyle McCord has fewer than 31 turnovers next year, then I think that's progress, right? I mean, let's be honest about where things are at here, right? I mean, we just take care of the football. So I think I think he's a talented player. Obviously, if you can get McCord on board, you got to find some talent at wideout and kind of set him up with a little bit better supporting cast next year. And I'm sure that's in the works. But I think he can be the right guy at the right time for Nebraska as someone who's a veteran who can provide some leadership and get this offense kind of back on track here. Obviously, you talked about it plenty, I'm sure. I mean, just all the injuries this group got hit with, like, it really was set up to fail. And, I think it's going to look very different next year with the talent infusion and just maybe a little bit better luck in terms of injury.
The portal in general, Max, like I've talked about this a lot over the last couple of weeks. Like and it's sort of spurred from Matt Rhule's comment about how much it costs to acquire a quarterback out of the transfer portal, $1.5 million to $2 million. Like, hey, that's just what it is. And then I looked at some of the guys that were in it, and there have been some good college quarterbacks in there, but they've gone into the portal, and they can kind of, they obviously the market is what the market is, but in some cases it feels like the market for these guys and the competitive nature in which teams are going after them, and like high rated teams in college football are going after these guys, seems a little bit, outsized compared to what they've actually been, what the quarterbacks themselves have been in their college careers so far. Like, we've created this kind of crazy vacuum of a transfer portal quarterback market.
For sure. And, I think I can definitely understand if anybody's looking at this stuff and kind of saying, like, well, wait a minute, if Dylan Gabriel's so great, why isn't he going pro? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Or you go down the list with any of these guys. And I think part of it is just kind of the economics of what's going on right now. And you saw it last year with guys like Sam Hartman and Devin Leary, who, knew they would not be high draft picks and kind of understood, okay, if I go to this place and play one more year in college, I'm going to make money. And it's probably better money than I'm guaranteed to make in the NFL. I mean, if you go through, Spotrac on some of these guys, like, Sam Howell's the starter for the Commanders, and he's making $1 million a year, right? I mean, Brock Purdy's making way less. So it's like, if you're somebody who is being told, hey, maybe you're a day 3 guy, then the college money is a lot better and a lot easier. You know what I mean? Because you may be facing the possibility that you fall in that draft and you're like a practice squad guy next year. And it's like, well, okay, the college experience is pretty sweet. Why not run it back for one more year and make, that kind of money? And I can tell you from a lot of people I've talked with, Matt Rhule, the numbers he put out there, it's pretty dead on in terms of what people are looking for. And you can debate whether that's what they're worth, but that's certainly that $1 million bar. I've heard lots of wild ones of people being shopped around for $1 to $2 million that I think people are kind of expecting that right now. And, I think for Cameron Ward and for DJ and Dylan Gabriel and Riley Leonard and a lot of these guys, I just think that if there's not a lot of guarantees about where you're going to end up in the draft, then it makes sense to put your name out there and see what's out there. And these guys have a chance to go play for a contender and make a lot of money while doing so.
Well, look at Will Howard. Like, that's a guy who, and you've watched a lot of K-State and a lot of Big 12. Like, totally. I think Will Howard is a fine quarterback, and he certainly has some of the tools, and he's done a great job over the last couple of years. But K-State has, they have created a real nice system that is kind of friendly for a quarterback. And so now he goes into the portal, and when you're the top or one of the top guys in the portal, you're sort of expected to be the kind of savior, like, do it all guy. And I kind of question whether Will Howard, like, has that to his game.
I know, and if you're a Kansas State fan, like you're ready to see Avery Johnson, who's like one of the fastest quarterbacks in the country. You're ready to move forward with him, and so you weren't that bummed out about Will Howard going in the portal, and then you kind of see the whole world treat him like a superstar, and I'm sure that's like pretty jarring to fans sometimes. But I've talked to a few personnel guys who look at Will Howard, and there's some games on his tape like Texas this year. He did some really great stuff against Texas, and like if you turn that on, you're kind of like, wow, okay, there's the upside. There's some real ability there. When he's been healthy, and he's dealt with a bunch of injuries, but when he's been healthy, he can be a dual threat guy. And I've talked to some personnel people who kind of just look at it like, look, if we've got good pieces around him, if we've got receivers, if we've got a run game, like I know Oregon took Dylan Gabriel, but they like Will Howard too, and kind of looked at him as a guy who's like, if he can just kind of do his job and not be superhero mode, and we kind of surround him with the right people, then that could be really solid. And honestly, I think if you put Will Howard on Nebraska last year, or this year,
it's definitely better.
Could you win 8 games with him? I think possibly, right? I think that's not impossible with the way the defense was playing. So it really depends on, can you kind of pick the right spot where you're not going to get exposed if you're these quarterbacks. And I don't know if it's going to be USC or somebody else for Will Howard, but it's a guy who's become very popular, and yet when you talk to people, I've talked to some people who kind of feel like he's really average, and I've talked to some people who feel like, can he be the right guy for the right team? Like, yeah, definitely possible.
What do you think? What do you think happens now, or is going to happen to the highest? I mean, Dylan Raiola is a decent example of this, I guess, but like the highest rated high school recruits as the transfer portal is sort of turning and dominoes are sort of falling. Like, what I'm wondering what the advantage is for the high school quarterback to end up at a place, at one of the top schools in the country that's probably going to wade into the waters of who's the best guy out there in the transfer portal because they can every single year, no matter what. And then you're sitting there wondering, is like, when's my opportunity coming? It just doesn't work the same anymore.
No, for sure. And yesterday, Ty Thompson, the backup quarterback at Oregon, he entered the transfer portal. He spent 3 years in that program, training to be the guy. Obviously, they took Bo Nix when Dan Lanning got there at his staff. And, I'm sure Ty Thompson has circled 2024 as this is the year I get to be the starting quarterback of Oregon. Well, Oregon feels like they've got a lot of really good players coming back and a chance to be a CFP contender, even though they're, moving to the Big Ten. And so they just, after 3 years with Ty Thompson, they're just kind of like, yeah, not sure he's the guy. And so they go get Dylan Gabriel, and now he's going to the portal. And you just see that a ton. I think that these, you go through all these teams. Like right now, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are kind of waiting on Ty Simpson at Alabama or Miller Moss at USC, or like just these highly touted guys where it's like, well, they just keep recruiting over you, and your time's not going to come here. And that really is like, that's just kind of baked into the quarterback recruit experience now. It's like you go somewhere, you try to play early, and if you don't play early, then you're going to transfer. And to me, it's like, and obviously it's hard to pinpoint the right place to go when you have so many coaching changes, and it's a volatile business. But man, the more I watch it, the more I think, like, if it were my kid, I would just be like, can we just go pick a place where we have a chance to play right away? Because if you don't, you're just going to sit there and develop and get better. But ultimately, you're always kind of looking over your shoulder and assuming that a coaching staff is going to look to this free agent pool, because it's just a really good group. Every year it's at least very appealing to go bring in a veteran and stay good. People don't want to take a step back and suck for a couple of years with young players, and so that's kind of how it's set up now, and it leads to I tweeted it yesterday. Like, you look at the 2021 class, these guys have only been in college for 3 years, but the 8 of the top 10 have already transferred. So I mean, it's just that is just the norm now, and it's just hard to pick a good spot where you really get to be the guy and a multi-year starter.
Well, look at what's happened to Cam Ward, and who started at Incarnate Word, and then played a year at Washington State, and now he's pretty definitively the top guy on the market right now, right?
Yeah, and when he left Incarnate Word, he was one of the most prolific passers in FCS, and I remember covering that recruitment, and Lane Kiffin was recruiting him and brought him in for a visit and told him, like, you've got the tools to be a first rounder if you make the right move here. And he went to Washington State to follow his coach, Eric Morris, who became the OC there. And they've run a really wide open offense for his 2 years there in Washington State. And he's been able to, it's a lot on his shoulders They're among the national leaders in terms of passing attempts per game and stuff like that. So he's got a ton of reps, and I think some people watch him and kind of think maybe he needs to stay in an air raid or something like that. But he has got all the tools and potential in the world to be extremely valuable on this market, obviously, and put together a great year and actually be a guy that I think among these guys probably could play his way up a draft board if he goes to a good spot and has a big year here in 24.
We talked about the money a little bit. Like this is sort of general. Every situation is a little bit different, but like I was just sort of wondering out loud in the last segment, like how transactional do you think it like just in your experience and what you've seen, whether it's just this crop of guys or the last or even if it's just anecdotal experience of seeing what these guys do and why they make their decisions out of the transfer portal. Like how transactional do you think it is in terms of like situation compared to, well, I'm going to go where I can get the best deal in terms of just straight up NIL money?
How transactional just on the player side?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, believe me, like, so when the portal opened on December 4th, but in the weeks leading up to that, you talk to people and you just hear a ton of rumors and a ton of buzz that essentially, like, we've reached the point now with the quarterback market where all these guys have agents or reps now. And that was maybe, in talking to personal people, they say that was maybe not totally the case a couple years ago, but it's certainly it's increased to the point that now these guys all have agents, and a lot of them even have agents like with the like reputable, NFL agency groups and stuff like that. And so you have these agents, and in the month of November, they're just out here shopping. They're shopping their guys and saying, hey, this guy, I heard a quarterback, and I confirmed this with a couple people, quarterback who was out there, a veteran quarterback who was being shopped around for $2 million, and I think people felt like he was not worth $2 million, and he's staying put where he's at. But it's like you just hear a bunch of those kinds of stories, even for guys that have like are like definitely the starter where they're at, definitely like supposed to come back and do big things next year. I think people just kind of understand there's a market here. People are willing to pay. People have the money, at least among these top Power 5 schools. So let's go find out what we can get. And I think that it's like any of us, right? Like your value is determined on, do you have a job offer from somebody else, right? So I think that I think that's there's a ton of that going on right now at the quarterback position. Maybe to a lesser extent at all the other positions, but certainly right now it's become very like professionalized in terms of these guys getting shopped around. And certainly when we're living in an open market here with no contracts, then anybody can leave at any time, which I think has made it tough on the team side and the collective side to just be like constantly renegotiating with people who always have the threat of leaving.
Yeah, it's almost like, why would you not enter the portal? Regardless, if you're a quarterback, regardless of your situation, like if you've played at all, why would you not just see what's out there for you?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of like, there's definitely downsides. You can definitely,
you don't lose a spot
a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. But if you're somebody valuable, if you're somebody who's, I was thinking that the other day, like if you're like Ollie Gordon in Oklahoma State, like, would you explore this? Would you consider this? Or you feel pretty happy with where you're at and just trust they're going to take care of you? You know what I mean? I think if you're just any of these guys, the best players in the country, or just a guy that's a starter, like that is the way to become more valuable is to kind of have that leverage and that threat. And certainly when you talk to coaches, that's extremely frustrating. And that, a lot of people, when that portal window opens on December 4th, they're just kind of bracing for surprises and more nervous than excited about it. And, that's just kind of that dynamic right now. That's it's pretty exhausting for people.
No doubt about it. Well, there's some things that might end. It's very volatile, but a couple things might go Nebraska's way in this cycle. At least that's the way it seems right now. Max, appreciate your time as always, man. Great stuff. I know it's like super hectic covering all this stuff, but you do a great job. And we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, anytime, man. Thanks so much.
That is Max Olson of The Athletic. All over the portal, well-sourced, talks to people, and knows kind of the inner workings of how things are going on at these schools. It's a wild game out there right now. And so you just hope that in any offseason that a couple things can sort of fall your way. And Nebraska just might have had a really nice day yesterday. We'll see how fruitful it ends up being here shortly. Coming back, the Peterman has the odd news.
Oh, yeah.
When we return on 1620 The Zone.
Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Have dynamic divisions. You can literally do that by saying, all right, well, we're going to match up the teams that we have scheduled against each other, and they're in one division, and the other group is in the other side. Hell, you could change them every year if you wanted to, but at least you have structure of this team's going to have the best record on this side, and your tiebreakers are going to work.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
It's going to be another chilly day for your Tuesday afternoon with cloudy skies and a high temperature in the mid-30s. Straight chance of seeing a flurry in a few isolated areas. Overnight tonight, cloudy skies, and tomorrow, a similar day to today, but temperatures a little warmer, up to about 46 degrees. I'm meteorologist Luke Vickery, KETV Newswatch 7.
Suicide can be prevented by knowing the warning signs, and most importantly, knowing what to do if you recognize those signs in yourself, a loved one, or even a stranger. There are simple ways you can be there for someone, so they can be here for more tomorrows. Visit moretomorrowsne.org to learn the signs, how to approach the conversation, and where to get help. Or call 988 for help now. That's moretomorrowsne.org.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also a time you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. And what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the member satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. Double. MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of more than 400,000 members. And here's the thing. If you join before December 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, you'll get another 10% off all of 2024. That's 12 months of savings. So I'll give you the number here in a second, but call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline's December 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number, 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE, 855-51-BIBLE.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you can sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-462-3333. That's 800-462-3333. 800-462-3333.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? the Odd News with Oddson.
No Josh today, but it has been reported to me that Josh he may be listening, or he may be just sending the Peterman some stories to fire off on the Odd News.
I had a few lined up, but he contributed a very good one to today's Odd News.
He can't quit.
He's got his fingerprints on it still.
And we still look forward to talking to Josh on Thursday morning when he, is in a different state of mind. Quick question on the YouTube first before we get to that. This is from Heath. Connor, can we just talk about Creighton basketball today? No Husker fans want to discuss football. They'd rather preview the Jays versus UNLV. Okay, you're right. The next 2 hours are solely focused on Creighton and UNLV.
No Husker football the rest of the entire week.
Just everybody shuts their radios off. But we will spend some time talking about Creighton and UNLV when the time comes tomorrow, and we're less high off of life from this whole December 11th, 2023 situation. All right, Josh, or Peter, let's do it. Odd News.
Sit in for Josh. So we're going to kick it off. And this actually is also kind of tied into Josh. Josh and I are big movie guys.
Yes.
This is a tie into the new Wonka movie that's coming out, I think, on Friday.
Oh, yeah, Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet playing I don't know, how many people have played Wonka by now? Probably like 3 or 4.
You had the OG, and then you had
Gene, and then I think Johnny Depp at one point.
Johnny Depp, yeah. I think I've seen all of the Wonka movies.
Well, there you go. So you have to add this one to the
I'm a
list.
big Wonka guy. I like Timothy Chalamet, by the way. I think he's good.
Yeah,
he seems funny.
He's good in Dune. I liked him in that a lot. So there's a couple of hotel rooms that just are going all out. One in New York, one in Los Angeles, with the marketing and theming of Wonka. And these rooms have been decked out, all things Wonka, and they're calling them Wonka's Sweet Suites. Play on words.
Mm-hmm.
Up for grabs, one night only, starting tomorrow. I'm sure there won't be any chaos with that. People trying to book those all at the same time. It looks like it'll include tickets to the movie as well as
That's good. An everlasting gobstopper.
Edible amenities, life-size chocolate confections, Wonka's Candy Shop Tree,
That's
a
cool.
chocolate bar bed, and marshmallow cotton candy clouds.
So do you have to bid on these hotel rooms, or is it like you just?
They're saying first come, first served.
Wow.
But I don't know, when everyone floods it at once, I don't know how they'll really decipher who was first.
Now, how much is the question? I don't know that I would pay all that much more than a regular hotel room.
This is the interesting part.
Okay.
This will shock you. The 2 hotel rooms are available for reservations for only $12.15 a night as a nod to the release date of the movie, December 15th.
And so there's 2 of them, and this is first come, first serve.
Yep. So
how is that even possible? How is it first come, first serve?
I was kind of having the same thought.
There's going to be more than 2 people that end up at this.
Yeah, there's going to be
great $12.
Chaos.
I would do
$12 for the Wonka suite.
That sounds amazing. I would pay like $150 for this.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. And there's a giant giraffe in the corner of the room.
Yeah, I mean, would you be curious if during the night, like an Oompa Loompa walks in?
Your wake up calls here,
or something like that. I mean, yeah,
Hugh Grant.
You're in it for the bit, kind of at that point.
Yeah.
I would absolutely do this.
Seems like a fun
Where's
thing.
the hotel at?
Let's see. The one in New York.
It's in New York.
There's one in Park Lane, New York.
Okay.
And then Viceroy, Santa Monica.
Sure. So one in New York and one in LA.
Yeah.
As we do.
Transportation included if you get the room.
Jeez.
So they're just really
this is a great deal.
They're just throwing this all out there.
So,
You can get everything.
They're basically just doing it for free, except for we'll charge your credit card $12.15. Almost just feels like a ripoff at that point. You're just doing it to get my information. All right, next.
Next up, Abraham Lincoln news.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm intrigued.
And so there's an Abraham Lincoln statue in Louisville, and recently discovered, this broke yesterday afternoon, the top hat that sits next to the statue went missing. Just completely gone. It was.
Is it bigger than a regular top hat?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and it's I believe the material that they used, bronze. So the artist found this and he posted about it on Facebook, the guy that helped sculpt it. He goes, they had to be strong and determined to pry bronze from a base. Good grief.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you go through all the work to steal a giant bronze top hat, then maybe you just deserve it.
The statue itself is 12 feet. It doesn't say the exact size of the hat.
That's a life size for a 12-foot statue. I mean, it's a pretty giant hat.
So I think it'd be funny if someone tried to wear it, and it's like the Tim Robinson skit where he's wearing the hot dog. He's like, who could have possibly taken the Abraham Lincoln hat?
Who could have done this? We have to find the person who did this. He's wearing a hot
Just
dog
a giant bronze hat.
What if should we be looking into the universities of Illinois and Northwestern because they play each other for a hat?
Oh,
at the end of the year, maybe they just decided
maybe they tried to spruce it up.
I believe it's Lincoln's hat. They maybe needed another hat. They decided to make the stakes a little bit larger going into 2024. Who knows? That'd be the first place I'd look. Check Northwestern's beachside facility and see what they got going on over there.
This is a good point. Oh, and then this is Josh's. He got this one included in the lineup today. This is a good one. Michael Kay, voice of the Yankees.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of how weird his food tastes were. Kind of a picky eater. He ate an egg for the first time this week and said, not going to be having it again. It shows I've been right for 62 years.
Ooh, he ate an egg? Like, in which way did he eat an egg?
So he sent out a tweet. Vacation is for exploring. So I tried my first ever egg, an egg white bacon omelet for breakfast. Not going to be having it again. Shows I've been right for 62 years. Included with it is a photo of the omelet.
Oh my God.
And yeah, he was not a fan.
He just did this an hour ago.
Not a fan of the egg. And he didn't even try the yolk, apparently.
I tried my first ever egg.
At age 62.
62 years old. He says he's not going to be having another egg again in his life. I have been... Imagine having the take that eggs are bad, and I've never had an egg in my entire life, and I was right because I tried it the one time. Wow.
But then
what is Michael Kay doing? What is he eating?
That's what I'm wondering, because then the rest of the story talks about his other weird food moments that he's had. Once ate a full Whopper on air during his show and openly gagged because of the sensation of the ointments, aka condiments.
All right, he's got problems. He's an elitist New Yorker.
Does not eat soup because he's disgusted by the slurping sound required to ingest it. Has never eaten.
Now that's fair. I actually get that.
Has never eaten jelly, cheese outside of pizza, or coffee.
Okay, so he is a child.
And even Kay's wife has piled on. She once revealed that during their honeymoon in Italy, he lost weight because they could not find a good chicken parm, and he refused to eat anything else.
Good take on the chicken parm, though. If you've never had an egg in your entire life and you're 62 years old, does that just mean, like, does that mean you're really rich? Or, like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know about you, Peter, man, but, like, you're struggling, you're trying to figure it out in college, and you're like, what do? I just probably get a big old package of eggs and I just make all those in varieties of different ways. Something about Michael Kay, I don't know what it is, strikes me as he's never really had to struggle all that much.
Nope.
So maybe that's the reason why he's never had an egg or refused eggs. Now, at the same time, there's many different ways you can make eggs in, like, very fancy ways. So you would think that he's ran into a brunch at some point in his life.
You would think.
Where he's put an egg.
He's like, oh, that looks like a fun variation of an egg. I will try that.
The ointment on the Whopper is hilarious.
The condiments / ointments.
See, it just goes to show you, us here at 1620 The Zone, we're not that weird. We're not that weird. You know,
there's Michael K's out there.
There are weirder people out there. Now, some are probably saying right now let's take a look at our comments here.
It kind of reminds me of the Office scene where he's having the wine and he says it has a bit of an oaky afterbirth.
Afterbirth. It's like, oh, okay, you've never had this before. You just don't know how to. I pride myself in trying all the different foods I can, and I would have thought that at age 62, Michael Kay would have had an egg before.
Just any egg.
You're gonna lose credibility, actually. You know. So, Tyler says on the YouTube, imagine trying an egg for the first time after 62 years and only trying the egg whites and not even the yolk. Great point.
Yeah, he didn't even get the full experience.
He didn't actually even eat an egg. Brian says on the text line, what it shows is that radio people have weird food takes. It must be a requirement. People are saying this. Maybe people are saying maybe we should hire Michael K to work at this station. Get along with us very well.
Amazing Daniel on the YouTube.
It'd be tough to get Michael out of his job of doing play-by-play for the Yankees, but maybe we could hire him.
For his food takes. Amazing Daniel said, I do want to start calling condiments ointments and see how long it takes someone to say something.
It's really funny. It's actually really funny.
That is good.
I want to start doing that as a bit as well. I'd like
Are there any ointments in the break room?
Yes, I'd like a Whopper with no ointments, please. What is this ointment?
I'm sorry, sir. What?
Bad take by Michael K. Yes, officially. All right. Thank you, Peter, man. We will come back for the noon hour. Plenty of things to come. I want to get into the Donovan Raiola side of this. You remember Donnie? Also, we'll check in on Georgia fans and how they're handling this. Spoiler alert, they are definitely not suggesting that someone should commit a federal crime in order to prevent Dylan Raiola from visiting this weekend. More on that as we return on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. But first, yes, thank you, Peter. I like that. I like that move, by the way. Just don't do anything. He'll eventually figure it out. You have a chance to make all your dreams come true this holiday season with the FanDuel Sportsbook, which is America's #1 sportsbook right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. $150 if your team wins. So take a look at the slate for this weekend or even for Thursday night. Pick a favorite. That's what I would do anyway. $5 moneyline bet. And if that team wins, you get $150 in bonus bets from our friends at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And then here's what I always say. When you go into the app and you figure it out for the first time, you will find that there are endless options, whether it's styles of bet, kinds of bet, sports to bet on. That is the beauty of the FanDuel Sportsbook and its fantastic app. Head to FanDuel.com/Happer and get in on that NFL action with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager, only $5 pregame moneyline wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is not withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620, The Zone.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, Honey Bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, it's Michael here for Ted and Wally's. One of the things that Ted and Wally's does is go along with the seasons, whether it's the summer or it's the spring or it's the fall, and of course, the winter and holidays, and the holiday flavors are amazing. Let me suggest a couple of them for you. Coffee beignet and ooey gooey cake. You are going to love both of them, and so will your family and friends. Swing by the two locations, whether it's Benson, next to Taste of New Orleans, or in the Old Market, and get the holiday flavors today. Grab a gift card while you're there as well, and always tell them Severe sent you.
We're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you were exposed to toxic substances in the military, a new law called the PACT Act may make you eligible for extra benefits and care. The PACT Act benefits veterans of the Vietnam, Gulf War, and post 9/11 eras. Learn more at va.gov/PACT or call 1-800-MyVA411.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Sergeant Jones with the Nebraska State Patrol. Driving drunk puts everyone on the road at risk. In Nebraska, over 30% of all roadway fatalities occur in alcohol-related crashes, and every one of those could have been prevented. The decision to give your keys to a sober driver could be the decision that prevents a roadway tragedy. Help keep Nebraska roads safe and always drive sober. This message is presented by the Nebraska State Patrol and the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Happy holidays from your friends at DJ's Dugout. Nick Handley here. DJ's is truly an Omaha tradition to gather with family and friends during the holidays to watch sports, enjoy delicious food, and have a great time. And a DJ's gift card is a great holiday gift idea, too. Thank you for voting DJ's your #1 sports bar again this year in the Best of Omaha Awards. DJ's Dugout is locally and Vietnam veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
Come visit Omaha's own little corner of France, Les Voltaire, for mouth-watering appetizers and entrees, plus melt-in-your-mouth desserts and an extensive wine menu. Dinner with your friends for a special occasion, entertaining clients, or just chilling with French wines with your favorite someone, Les Voltaire will make you feel right at home. Reserve their private party room today for the office holiday party or your family gathering. Les Voltaire just off 156th and West Dodge Road in the Pepperwood Village and at lesvoltaireomaha.com. Call now for reservations.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone.
All right, so I've learned from third-party sources that Matt Rhule is going to go on the Pat McAfee show at 1:15. I couldn't find this out on my own because I'm blocked by Pat McAfee. But apparently that will be happening. And maybe, just maybe, within, from now until then, at some point, there will be some news regarding Nebraska's activity in the transfer portal. Maybe. Who knows? But
things are potentially
things are sort of in motion. It feels like at Nebraska. Pete Thamel, we had a Pete tweet last night on
Pete
Nebraska.
Tweet. Do we have another Pete tweet?
Pete tweet. Pete tweet today. Transfer portal stuff. DJ Uiagalelei is taking an official visit to Florida State this weekend.
Oh.
The former Oregon State and Clemson quarterback is one of the top remaining quarterback targets in the transfer portal. Once again, I think that's the overarching, and that was a great conversation with Max. He knows the portal and the landscape really, really well, and sees it from sort of the player angle and from the coach's angle, and well versed in the NIL community, of course, as well. There is currently a market for quarterbacks. And there's maybe the absence of the amount of them that are required. And there's just more teams looking for quarterbacks than there are quarterbacks available. And so when that happens, it's like MLB free agency. It's like NFL free agency. You're going to end up paying more money for the guys that maybe you are sort of holding a spot for, hoping that there would be better players in the market. You're always going to be at the sort of at the mercy of the market that is around you. So that is currently happening in the transfer portal world. We'll have NFL overreaction here in just a little bit. Jacob Bigelow will join us at 1:00. Let's talk about this a little bit from the Donovan Raiola angle. Sorry to the guy who wanted us to talk about Creighton basketball for the next 2 hours. I guess we'll go a different direction. So Donovan Raiola's salary goes from $175,000 to $500,000. And that is something that I think if you're still of the thinking that Donovan, Donnie, what's Donnie done? Why is he the guy who was retained? Why is he on the hot seat and all this stuff? Nebraska's offensive line improved dramatically, in my opinion, during the first year of his, the second year of his tenure, the first year of Matt Rhule's tenure. But that's a pretty gigantic raise. My guess would be that comes with some sort of a title added on, and there is some moving pieces as far as the maybe coaching staff is concerned. He's probably going to get a run game coordinator title thrown in there. That'd be my guess. And maybe, just maybe, there will be a little bit of a staff shakeup after all. There is some smoke around Nebraska getting a quarterback coach. Which one in particular? But there would have to be some sort of movement and changing roles. And I think, if you really listened to Matt Rhule a couple of weeks ago when he talked, the week after the Iowa game and talked about the season and the staff and where they're at. And we talked about how he likes the staff. We're just not going to go firing people because we're going to fire people. If you listen closely, though, you could hear and you could feel a willingness, or at least they hadn't got to the point in their offseason yet when he talked, 3 Wednesdays ago, I think, or 2 Wednesdays ago. They hadn't got to the point in their offseason yet where they had, it was just like 5 days old, where they had like evaluated how everybody had done and then made changes and recommendations and moves based on what their evaluation of the season was yet. They had not gotten to that point yet. And it feels as if maybe they're approaching that point now and have a plan of action going forward. And it obviously what they have done is evaluated that Donovan Raiola is really, really important. As far as the value of this staff is concerned, you don't go from $175,000 to $500,000 just because of nothing. And I think there was, we got one from, there has been some thoughts that, if you don't get Dylan, like does this happen? If you don't get Dylan Raiola, Donovan's nephew, does any of this happen? I think this is in the works before. Obviously, they've talked a lot about how much they value Donovan Raiola on the staff. But I think Amazing Daniel wrote in earlier is like, okay, don't tell me it means nothing. Like, are you telling me that Dylan would be here if Donovan had got fired this past year? Like, no, I obviously him being here and his connection to Dylan Raiola is relatively important. But I do think mostly Nebraska did a pretty good job of recruiting and staying with it and not over promising and just saying the right things and doing the right things the entire time. But yeah, if the situation was, they were so bad this year they had to get rid of him, is Nebraska probably out of the Dylan Raiola recruitment? Maybe. I mean, probably. Right? So, with that being said, I guess you got us. It doesn't mean nothing, but keep in mind, I think that his value to the staff is independent of whether or not Dylan Raiola is on campus in 2 weeks or signed with Nebraska in 1 week. I think it's independent of that. Let's head to the message boards from last night. This was fun. Peter Ban, have you seen this? Have you seen this message board post on Dogs HQ?
I think we might be thinking of the exact same one because I saw it last night and I got a big laugh out of it.
Okay, good. Many people have seen it, but I'm just going to read it again because I want people to hear it out loud. This comes from Dogs HQ. This the
Laguna dog?
This is the Laguna dog.
Yep. Okay.
Yes. Subject of the thread. Does anyone here work at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, which is the world's largest airport or whatever, most traffic, however they categorize it, in Atlanta? And the post from Laguna Dog says the following: It's being reported that Raiola will visit Nebraska on Friday. I assume that he'll take the 221 Delta flight, which is also the last flight of the day to the state of Nebraska. Therefore, if this flight gets canceled, he likely won't be able to make the trip and will stay committed to Georgia. Obviously, messing with commercial flights is a slippery slope, so I'm not suggesting that anybody does anything illegal, but does anyone here work for Delta? If some loyal UGA pilots or flight attendants to call in sick at the last minute, the flight would be canceled and we could keep Raiola. Maybe someone working could hold the flight up for maintenance issues. At the very least, he could lose his checked bags, so he'd have to experience the Nebraska winter without a jacket. I'm just spitballing ideas, but if anybody has anything else, those ideas would be appreciated. Now that, my friends, is how you do a message board post.
A slippery slope.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not telling you to mess with commercial flights here. I'm obviously not telling you that, but I am saying if there happened to be a fan of Georgia who is involved in making sure this flight gets off of the ground and into Omaha, Nebraska on, Friday at 4 or whatever it is, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you just decided to not show up to your job that day. Now, once again, this is how you message board. This is exactly
solid message board post.
This is exactly how you do it. You just throw out completely insane ideas, and that way our friends over at the Twitter account entitled Message Board Geniuses can pick it up. I mean, instantly. This got posted on the Message Board Geniuses account within 19 minutes of it being actually posted on the message board. And trust me, last night I did a little snooping around. I did a little diving around on the Georgia message boards. It wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. Meanwhile, the Nebraska message boards were just like, it was a different world up here.
Yeah.
It was a totally different conversation. Now, I'm not telling you to, commit any federal crimes, but I am saying, like, if somebody were to commit a federal crime and if somebody were to prevent this plane from lifting off the ground at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport at 2:21 p.m. Eastern time on the Delta flight, whatever, that would probably be beneficial to Georgia. Now, the question is, would it be beneficial to Georgia? What if this guy's plan goes through? What if somebody goes to the airport and they're like, they pull a plug or something like that, and they're like, nope, this flight's not taking off, and he still commits to Nebraska.
And then immediately Laguna Dog it would just be under investigation.
Well, it'd be an opportunity for Nebraska to really flex their muscle again, because you know what they would do. Hey, my flight's canceled. I can't get up there, and we really got to have this meeting. You know what happens immediately, right? Fire up the PJ. We'll be down in 3 hours. We'll come
say no more.
We'll come down and get you. We'll bring you back up. You don't even have to go outside. We'll hook you up with everything. It's an official visit, right?
Hang out at the airport for a couple hours.
We'll go get I don't know what the rules are with the PJ and the usage as far as the recruits are concerned, especially unsigned 5-star ones that are committed to other schools. But it would be an opportunity for Nebraska to flex its muscle a little bit. So, Georgia fans, I'd be doing the same thing if I were you, man. I wouldn't be telling people to commit federal crimes. I would just be, really scraping the bottom of the barrel. What can I find here in order to make this not happen?
Do we want some Colorado news?
What's going on with them?
Well, so are you familiar with the account Blue Bloods Bias?
I am, which I have denounced over the last few days, months, and weeks.
So I find this very strange. They tweeted out a little bit.
Be careful, Peter, man, because a lot of what the Blue Bloods Bias Twitter account has tweeted has been completely untrue and not factual.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
But what I find even more bizarre, and I'll just read what the general content of the tweet is. It says, breaking: Colorado officially has the #1 transfer portal class in the entire nation for 2024. The most impressive part: Coach Prime was only focused on one position group this week, the offensive line. Colorado landed 5 offensive linemen and a couple other offensive stars so far. Coach Prime is officially the king of the portal. And
definitely not hyperbole at all.
And so that's the content of the tweet, which in and of itself is like, okay. And then it's retweeted by the official Colorado football Twitter.
Totally normal.
Which is very normal.
Very normal activity for a very normal football program.
Yeah, I thought that was just completely normal, which is why I thought I should bring it up.
Oh, what's this Twitter account that is constantly tweeting out fake information and stealing other people's work? It's saying good things about us. Retweet.
I see a blue check mark. Retweet.
Does it say retweets are endorsements on Colorado's football profile there on Twitter?
Nope.
Okay. TC writes in on the FAA situation that we have potentially brewing at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta on the Equitable Bank inbox. That cat is going to jail. LOL. Interfering with a flight crew is a federal crime and can bring severe penalties, including years in prison and massive fines. The FAA can also levy additional substantial civil penalties. Airline passengers can get charged with federal crimes when they disrupt the flight, which carries a $37,000 civil fine for each violation, and felony charges that carry up to 20 years in prison. Most aircraft-related offenses usually will be prosecuted under a federal statute listed in 49 U.S. Code Chapter 465. Peace, TC. Thank you, TC. We needed that. They got the rule book out for us.
They had it ready.
It's important. One tweet here from Ian before we get to NFL reaction, overreaction. Is this situation more of a failure on Georgia's part as opposed to a huge success for Nebraska? Let me put it this way, Ian. I don't think this happens if things had remained exactly the same as they were prior to this past weekend. Right? So in just drawing, just reading between the lines, that would signal to me that something happened with Georgia. I don't know if it's a failure by Georgia, but something happened with Georgia, whether it was a promise not kept or an NIL deal gone south or like whatever it might have been. Something happened there in order to kick the Nebraska thing into gear. So that's the way I've been framing it all day. I believe Nebraska is the beneficiary of, you could chalk it down to something as simple as good luck. It could be just good luck. Just a little good luck. The ball rolling your way a little bit. Maybe that's the case. Either way, it's a gigantic success for NU when, that was the question for me. And is it a huge success for Nebraska? It's a gigantic success for them just on the bottom line. Like, you don't care how you get the guy like that. You just care that you do get him. And we certainly appear to be headed that way. We got a text from the 402 back to the FAA. Delta pilot here. That's not the last flight to Omaha on Friday. Delta would 100% find another flight crew if the primary called in sick. GBR. That's good to know as well. So once again, message board people, Laguna Dog, you could try and stop the flight, but guess what? It's not going to work. It is not.
You may try.
Going to work. All right, we'll come back. Have some NFL reaction, overreaction coming to. We'll still take your thoughts on Raiola and sort of the situation as it goes. And Nebraska still has another thing that they're sitting and waiting for as well, with the potential addition of Kyle McCord within the next few days, minutes, hours. Who knows? But let's take a dive into the NFL. We'll check on some teams' panic meters when we return on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here from my friends at Kugler Vision. If you have money sitting in your flex plan or in your health savings account, it is time for an early holiday gift for yourself. Ditch the contacts, ditch the glasses for good at KuglerVision.com.
Dear Santa, I hope you are having a good day in the North Pole. Is it cold all the time there? Is that why your cheeks are so rosy? I bet all of your reindeer are very excited. All right, guys. Is your beard long? My dad's is scratchy. My mom says I'm a good helper. But you didn't come last year. Was my chimney broken? Or did you forget? I do that sometimes. I just really hope this year when I wake up, I'm gonna see that you came to my house too.
Donate to Toys for Tots and help the Marines deliver hope to a child in need.
Hey folks, Kent Pavelka again to tell you about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked, uneven concrete, Everlevel can fix it at a fraction of the cost compared to replacement. This is no Band-Aid. Their products are built to last. It gives your concrete the durable protection it needs, and there's still time. I chose Everlevel for my driveway, and I've got peace of mind with their long-term transferable warranty. Everlevel's products and customer service are top-notch, and that's why they've been voted Best of Omaha again this year. Say it with me. Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, quick cleanup here. This is my bad on this. So I was talking about Donovan Raiola's salary, and I mentioned that he was going from $175,000 to $500,000. He added $175,000 to his already previous salary, which was $325,000. So it's not he's not taking as big of a jump as I said he was out loud. Thank you for correcting me, the people like Cody and Chris on the text line. My apologies on that one. So he's still, bottom line, he's still getting paid $500,000 now, which is, I think, 50-some% more than he was last year. I still want to talk about the other big news yesterday that I was following. Obviously, we were sort of tied in and trying to figure out what was going to go on with McCord. And this is before the Dylan Raiola thing. And then the news came down of we knew that Shohei Otani had signed a $700 million contract. And we knew that a lot of the money was going to be deferred, which means a lot of the money he was going to be getting paid was after his contract ends. But I didn't know how much. It turns out basically all of it.
All of the money.
We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. NFL reaction, overreaction. So we'll do it a little bit different today. Our writers have decided to take a break, and they're like, all right, why don't you just come up with some stuff yourself? So here's what I got for our NFL segment for the week. We will go through the panic meter of 5 teams. Where should the panic meter be on the following teams? Now, Josh has come in and I was going to do 4 initially. Josh has come in and he wonders about a 5th team, which, by the way, Josh and I are on the same page because I was originally going to think about this team. The Dolphins are the extra team. But I ended up taking them off because I ended up coming to the conclusion that they actually shouldn't be that panic. But we will still talk about the Dolphins. Anyway, we'll start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's a situation for the Jaguars, Peterman. They were 8-3. It was all set up for them. They were set to face the Browns and the Bengals back-to-back weeks with horrible backup quarterbacks like Jake Browning and whoever the hell the Browns threw out there ended up being
Flacco.
It was like pre-Flacco still. Whoever was it
PJ Walker, yeah,
or like whoever
XFL talent PJ Walker.
They were set up very well at 8-3. They were going to make a run at the 1 seed the way it seemed. And they faced those 2 backup quarterbacks in a row and they lost both of those games. They're now 8-5. Now the Ravens come to town on Sunday night. That's not easy for them. We know how Jacksonville has performed in primetime games before. Baltimore has this opportunity to kind of just stamp out the first round bye, kind of. They would have a very huge leg up on it if they win this Sunday night. And if Jacksonville loses now, all of a sudden their divisional hopes are in question. The Texans, although they come from not quite as great of a position of strength as they did a couple weeks ago, and now Tank Dell is out and CJ Stroud is in the protocol. They're coming off their horrible loss to the Jets now. The Titans are still in a position to make a run at this with the Titans in 2 of the final 4 weeks. And all of a sudden we have a sneaky week 18 game coming up between the Texans and the Colts. They will play each other. So with that being said, there are teams that are in position here like Houston and yes, the 7-6 Indianapolis Colts, who have a chance to give the Jags a run for their money. Easy schedules in the back. And if those 2 teams could take care of business this week and the Jags lose to the Ravens like we kind of all think they're going to, we'll be all square at the top of the AFC South. I still think they're the best team in their division, regardless of if they end up tied after this week, if they all end up tied after this week. I still like them more than Houston and Indianapolis. I certainly like Houston a lot less than I did like 3 weeks ago. So with that being said, I think the Jags panic meter is like I wrote 7 on the sheet, and now that I look at that, that seems actually kind of high because I still think they're the best team in their division.
I'd probably stick it at like a 5.
5 out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's split the difference. Let's call it 6.
Okay.
The Happer show agrees. It's a 6 out of 10 panic meter for Jacksonville because ultimately, bottom line for them, for me, is I think they're the best team in their division and they'll still find a way to win it. But obviously, they were sitting really pretty 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and now they are not.
There's definitely reason for a little bit of skepticism, but
I mean, it could have gotten a lot worse for them if Trevor Lawrence had been. He didn't miss any time.
Yeah, that shocked me that he actually started for them on Sunday. But yeah, Indy.
I just believe in Jacksonville.
Just too many injuries for both of those teams, Indy and Houston. I just don't really see them making much of a late push.
Yeah, even though they could all be tied at the end of this week,
which would be kind of hilarious.
We move on to the Detroit Lions. Now, Detroit. We've known this about them the entire year. They're 9-4. They're 2 games clear of I guess it's the Vikings, right? In their division. Yeah,
they're 7-6 Vikings.
2 games clear of the Vikings in their division. But they come off a really, really weird loss to the Bears over the weekend. Didn't look good against the Saints. Lost that game to the Packers a couple of weeks ago as well. And they finished with 2 games against the Vikings. So that's a sort of interesting trick that gets thrown in there. And then Denver and Dallas also kind of sandwiched around those games. We know this about Detroit. Their defense is pretty worrisome. And now they're a little too inconsistent on offense for me to really believe that they are a title contender. But it's about what is the goal for the team. Like, I think the goal for them was probably realistically just, looking at what they were going to be before the year and looking at them now. Like, I thought, yeah, getting to the NFC Championship game would be like a huge win. Yeah. They'd win a couple playoff games. Like, that'd be a huge win for them. I still think they're capable of that. They've lived up to pretty much what I thought they would be. Remember, I was a little bit lower on Detroit than everybody else was before the year. I think it's probably they are still good enough for either an appearance in the NFC title game or a divisional round exit. Like, I don't think anything's changed for me on them, even though their inconsistencies have been more magnified in the last couple of weeks. I never thought the team was a title contender. So my panic meter for them is not high because it's based off my expectations of what they were in the first place. I'm going to go 3 out of 10 for the Lions.
I think that's fair.
You like that? 3 out of 10?
Yeah, because I'm kind of with you in that I saw them winning this division. I didn't necessarily see them at the cream of the crop.
I kind of process of elimination this division, honestly.
And I think
nope.
I think a lot of the Lions fans would be very content with a playoff win. I don't know if they would be content going out one and done.
There's an
given the start, but
right.
The issues have been the same issues. They're
exactly.
just like you said,
nothing
more
new is completely cropped up. We move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's the deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defense is just straight up bad. There's kind of no way. Yes, I know they're beat up. That's a part of it. They're at the tail end of a brutal month where they played the Chiefs, the Bills, the Niners, and the Cowboys, who were all good. They went 2-2 in that stretch. 2 games against the Giants and 1 against the Cardinals in their final 3 for Philadelphia. So use the final 3 weeks. Like, the Giants might have some newfound momentum now, whatever. Get healthy, figure something out on defense. And I think they're still a title contender, but I certainly think about them much differently than I did a few weeks ago. Oh, we have a guest writer Josh Peterson, who's submitted the following to this. I don't know how this got on here. Does he have access to our show sheet? I don't know how that happened. He says the Eagles are frauds, the Cowboys are legit Super Bowl contenders, and Happer should apologize to Josh Peterson for thinking otherwise.
Oh.
There's no apologies yet, Josh. Although my long-standing belief that the Cowboys are frauds and that the Eagles are really good is certainly up for debate and up for question at this moment. I am questioning myself. I will give you that. Dallas, by thrashing Philly on Sunday night, that was a win. Like, I've been calling them the NFC Dolphins the entire year because they haven't really beaten anybody good. They now have a much tighter, stronger resume than the Dolphins do.
I think after this week, I would say I don't know how comfortable I am saying that the Cowboys are head and shoulders above the Eagles because I don't know if it's that much of a disparity.
They're at the very least the same.
Yeah,
at the very least.
I think I'd say they're about level right now. Given the contrasting strength of schedules for these two teams down the stretch, if the Eagles do not win this division, that would be catastrophic.
Because they're still a game ahead of them, right? Or are they tied?
They're sitting 10-3 both right now.
Okay, so they're still 10-3.
But I think tiebreaker right now. Oh, I guess Cowboys have tiebreaker.
Yeah, it belonged to Dallas at this point.
But I stick with the fact that if the Eagles do not win this division, it would be massive failure.
They play the Giants twice and the Cardinals down the stretch.
The Cowboys
given where what is Dallas?
They've got Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, and then the Commanders.
Yeah, it's a lot more challenging.
Yeah,
it's a lot more challenging. But like just coming from where they were a few weeks ago, from the position I thought that they were in, which was like they are A1 Super Bowl contender, like this is kind of the team to beat. Because like I said, we're going off of expectations of sort of where I thought that these teams were going to be. their panic meter for that right now, Philly's panic meter for that right now is high. I mean, it's 7 or 8 out of 10. They maybe are not quite that. They maybe are not quite what I thought they were going to be. And maybe, they've just gotten bit by the injury bug and their defense sucks. And their defense is straight up not good.
Well, and as the resident Colts fan,
no apologies though.
Shane Steichen, Eagles OC last year, new Colts head coach. They may not make the playoffs, but I think he at least deserves a little buzz for coach of the year. And his absence, I think they're feeling it. I feel like that offense has not clicked the way it did last year.
That's a good point. I mean, it's certainly, it's magnified more because their defense is as bad as it is, but there's no doubt about it. They are feeling that loss a little bit. And then we'll go with Kansas City here.
Oh, this ought to be fun.
People will accuse me of disrespecting the Chiefs. So let's get this out of the way. I still think that the Chiefs are winning their division, right? And I don't know if Chiefs fans are starting to worry about that or not. They're a game ahead of the Broncos right now. But once again, given what their expectations were and what we thought of this team, whether it's a couple weeks ago or at the beginning of the season, the scene has changed. Mahomes will have to probably go on the road for a playoff game, which he has never done in their path to the Super Bowl. If they want to get there, it's not that their receivers. It's not just that their receivers are bad. It's that they're bad and they need them. It's that they're bad and there's no way around it, right? Like in order for Mahomes to reach Mahomes level, he has to have good receivers, and there are gonna be moments. Like think of all of the playoff games and all of the moments where, Mahomes is making plays, whether it's on 3rd and long or 4th and long or extending drives. Like at the other end of that, Marcus Valdes-Scantling has to catch the ball, and Kadarius Toney has to not be offsides / catch the ball. Like, so it's not just that their receivers are bad; it's that they're bad and they need them. They're dropping,
and there has been no noticeable improvement.
They're dropping big plays. I don't know how you get over that with the way it currently operates. So,
and it's clearly taking a toll on the guys that are so used to winning all the time.
Yeah, they are frustrated over there. I don't know how you get over that with the preseason expectations. Their panic meter is high. I still think they're going to win their division. But for the Chiefs, it's always been about something bigger than that. Panic meter is a 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think you should be panicked at this point. And then guest writer Josh Odson, Josh O, he wants to know about how the Dolphins are feeling after a bad loss. Once again, I thought about putting them on here, but the bottom line for them is I don't trust anybody else in their division. They're still 2 games clear of Buffalo. I know they haven't beaten anybody good yet. Their schedule is tough down the stretch. I'll give them that. And they look bad last night. But until that division gets a little bit closer, because once again, expectations. Until that division gets a little bit closer, I can't be like, oh, it's 10 out of 10 on the panic meter.
Yeah.
They play the Jets this week, and I think they'll probably get through that one just fine on Sunday. So I'm okay with them right now, but I'm just sort of how I thought about them throughout the entire season, which has been, I think they're good, not great. If things go well for them, they could end up in the AFC title game, but not really.
And that's kind of the same, the same line of thinking as the Lions, where the expectations were this. Nothing's really changed that.
No doubt. All right, that's NFL reaction overreaction. Went through some panic meters there. We'll come back. I want to discuss Otani. We'll get to Jacob Bigelow at 1:00. Still plenty to come on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Previously on the crossover.
I want to hear the thank you at the end of it too.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. When you order a Big Mac at McDonald's.
No, thank you.
Thank you, caller Connor.
Good job, Connor.
No, thank you.
Maybe it was Connor Stallion. No,
it could have been.
Mornings with Sharp and Hanley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
It's going to be another chilly day for your Tuesday afternoon with cloudy skies and a high temperature in the mid-30s. Straight chance of seeing a flurry in a few isolated areas. Overnight tonight, cloudy skies, and tomorrow, a similar day to today, but temperatures a little warmer, up to about 46 degrees. I'm meteorologist Luke Vickery, KETV Newswatch 7.
Looking for a unique gift for your friends and family? Any size gift card will fit every homeowner or gardener on your list. We're your one-stop shop and homegrown headquarters. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lenaha Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
Take your home to the next level with Level countertops, cabinets, and flooring. If you have a kitchen, bath, or closet that is completely dysfunctional, now is the time to make them functional. Level countertops, cabinets, and flooring is your expert for taking your home to the next level. The staff will listen to your needs and dreams and create a unique space specifically for you and your family. Visit the showroom at 192nd and West Maple or online at levelomaha.com. That's levelomaha.com.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Severe for Ted and Wally's, 2 locations, one in Benson and one in the Old Market. Of course, not open on Christmas Day, but every other time around Christmas, when you need to go grab something for a quick present, whether it be a gift card or a great quart or pint, or maybe a half gallon of ice cream, you do that at Ted and Wally's. Not open on Christmas, but open the other days to make sure your Christmas is very special. All kinds of flavors, over 35 years of experience. Swing by today, whether it's Benson in the Old Market, and tell them Severe sent you.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope, and they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
This holiday season, all your wishes are coming true on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. You've got Saturday games this weekend. You've got Sunday games. And, of course, your primetime affair on Monday night between the Eagles and the Seahawks. App is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. Visit FanDuel and use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online, real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable. Bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
All right, welcome back. More of the Connor Happer Show. You're on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Peter Krenzer with you today. Let's go back. So this was the other piece of yesterday for me that happened outside of, and I don't know how much people care about like baseball news and stuff like that, but this was obviously the news broke over the weekend about Otani's $700 million deal. I was floored when I read this headline yesterday. I was like, whoa. Shohei Otani to defer $68 million a year. So you do 10 years, $700 million, Peter, man.
Your reaction to it was the first I saw, and I was like, huh?
It was 70. You're supposed to make $70 million a year if you do it average out over 10 years. Math, right? And what Otani has chosen to do, and apparently this is from Otani himself, he has said, you know what? That's okay. Pay me. And by the way, when they announced this deal on Saturday, news had already kind of started to leak out from the baseball people is like, yeah, a lot of this money is going to be deferred, which means he'll be paid out after the contract. And I figured, okay, he's supposed to be making $70 million a year. Why not pay him, I don't know, 30?
Yeah, like half.
That way you can, you could still, sign the people that you want to sign, not go over the luxury tax if you don't want to. There's still work. Other people have $35 million players on their roster or $30 million players on the roster. So I figured, all right, you could defer half the money to later or something like that. It's all of it. It's basically all of it.
Yeah.
He'll be deferring all but $2 million of his annual salary, $68 million of his $70 million per year until after the completion of the contract. The deferred money is set to be paid out without interest from when the contract ends, 2034 to 2043. $68 million a year. This was reported at first by The Athletic yesterday. And so the real tricky part of this comes in is the competitive balance tax, aka Major League Baseball's luxury tax, which the Dodgers, because of Otani's idea, are obviously circumventing here. You pay an average annual value of $2 million per year to a player. It doesn't count against that year's luxury tax, and you could just defer the money to later. So the deferrals, here's what The Athletic writes. The deferrals also give the Dodgers extra freedom navigating the CBT. For CBT purposes, the expected average annual value on the contract is said to be only about $46 million per year. People briefed on the term said the $46 million a year average is still the highest in Major League Baseball history, topping Max Scherzer's from 3 years ago with the Mets. Baseball CBT makes clear that there is no limit on how much salary a player and a team can agree to defer. The CBA collective bargaining agreement also includes a net present value calculation for luxury tax purposes, a calculation that estimates the player's contract on a season by season basis. That's how the $46 million figure is determined. So basically, they signed him for $700 million, but this is one of the most club friendly contracts that I've ever seen.
It might be the friendliest contract.
That's what's so amazing about this, because you look at the blank terms and you're like, 10 years, $700 million. This franchise is sunk. We are screwed. Like, what are we supposed to do? Well, we're going to defer all the money until afterwards. And, when you include inflation and stuff like that, and what the $68 million that he gets starting in 2034 after the contract ends is actually going to be worth compared into today's terms is significantly less. So the Dodgers get a break there. The Dodgers get a break in the CBT, in the competitive balance tax, the luxury tax for the next couple of years, so they can spend. Shohei Otani will be the 17th highest paid player on the Dodgers roster next year. He's making $700 million. It's amazing, and it's honestly kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
It's sort of frustrating for like the sport of baseball, but obviously it is groundbreaking in terms of what teams can do with contracts in order to circumvent the CBT.
When I first saw it, I was like, there's no way that this is actually allowed, is it? And then I actually read into it and I was like, oh, they can do this. It kind of reinforced me, like, to these big market teams in MLB, money's not really a real thing.
No.
It's kind of just, we have it, we're going to do what we want. And there's so many loopholes that they can just kind of throw it around.
Yeah. And Otani said, like, you're thinking, like, why would he do this? Why would he get paid $2 million a year when he could be making $70 million a year? Well, he's already making $50 million more on top for endorsement deals and things like that.
Yeah.
He's fine. And then when those stop, when his playing career ends, theoretically at the end of this contract, he's going to be getting paid $68 million a year. He's going to be getting the Bobby Bonilla deal times
like
70.
Yeah.
Times like Bobby Bonilla gets paid what? $1.3 every July 1st or whatever.
Something like that.
Like Shohei Otani is, I don't know how they're going to do the actual payments, but basically for all intents and purposes, he's going to get $68 million dropped at his doorstep every July 1st, every year until 2043, starting after he finishes his playing career or after he finishes this contract, which is amazing. Also, to your point, Peter, the future, much like money, the future is also not real, right?
This is true.
Like, so if something happens, there's always going to be ways that you could change and manipulate based on what has happened throughout his time during the contract. Very rarely do these 10-year contracts actually end up paying out on schedule, on date, and how, based on the player that you signed and the production that you've gotten. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I think it's probably bad for baseball, but that's probably a different story. We'll come back. Jacob Bigelow will join. We'll get caught up on what's happening in sicko land, of whether it's Nebraska basketball or just college basketball in general. And we'll ask his thoughts on Nebraska's quarterback situation when we return on 1620 The Zone.
For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
If you think you're having transmission problems, you need a specialist, someone who can and will tell you exactly what's wrong. At Omaha Transmission, that's what we do. Some places just want to sell you a new transmission, but at Omaha Transmission, we make repairs that other shops can't or won't. Giving you options is what's kept us in business since 2005. We've even had people hear our ads, bring in their car, and experience the exact same scenario they heard. There is a place that will diagnose and fix your transmission. That place is Omaha Transmission.
Shifting to running smooth.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are getting hot inside 42 degrees with our winter sale. We're warming up this holiday season with smoking deals for you, like our premium Kratom starting at $9.99, CBD starting at $10.99, e-juice starting at $14.99. You want a hot deal on Delta? We have them starting at $4.99. Check out 42degrees.com for the source of pipes, vaporizers, candles, and incense, and a knowledgeable, professional, and friendly staff. Buy your mom's house. Restrictions apply. Products may contain nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Hi, everybody. Kent Pavelka here with why I chose Everlevel Concrete Repair for my driveway. They do it all. They fix cracks, lift sunken slabs, protect the finished product from deterioration, and all at a fraction of the price of replacement. It's not a Band-Aid like other repair methods. Everlevel's products are designed to last, which is why they've been voted Best of Omaha again this year. Better yet, it all comes with a transferable warranty. Protect your concrete before winter. Call Everlevel today for your free inspection. Everlevel. They make your driveway Everlevel. Level up.
Creighton Sports Update. Hey, Blue Jay fans, it's basketball season here at Creighton, so get your tickets and come out and support your Blue Jays. For tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com, go Creighton.com/tickets, or visit the ticket office located at Ryan Athletic Center. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
Here's a little Christmas tip. Never ask Santa for adult beverages. Seriously, can you imagine the legal implications of carrying quality, locally brewed Nebraska beer or cider while flying a sleigh? So if you want your family and friends to gift you some Nebraska brewed awesomeness, ask and ye shall receive. Your local Nebraska Brewers Guild wants you to know that local brewers are currently working on special seasonal brews to make your holiday get-togethers merry and bright. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the Nebraska Craft Brewers Guild.
If you're the kind of person who has the attitude that when you do a job, you do it right, not just one time, every single time, congratulations. You're a rare individual, the kind of individual the Langfeld family wants to pay very well to join the awesome crew at Langfeld Overhead Door. That's because the Langfeld family believes strongly in treating their employees right. You know, doing what's right, like you do on the job. Opportunities are available now. Click LangfeldDoors.com. That's LangfeldDoors.com. Equal opportunity employer.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Put your coffee department in good hands with Host Coffee Service, providing direct delivery and loaned coffee equipment with service programs. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone.
All right, welcome back. More of the Connor Happer Show. You're on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. In case you guys are, burnt out on all of the news that's going around, people entering the transfer portal. How about this? I don't know, potentially one to keep an eye on. Oklahoma offensive lineman Caden Green plans to enter the transfer portal. This is from Hayes Fawcett, the graphic man. So he was a starter last year for Oklahoma as a true freshman. He was recruited quite heavily by the University of Nebraska. He's in the portal now. We're joined on the 42 Degrees Source Hotline by Jacob Bigelow of the Stretch Big podcast, also Huskers Illustrated. Hi, Jacob.
Good afternoon, Hap. How are we doing? I was too busy head bobbing and singing my heart out to the host coffee jingle, but I'm here and
Nice.
I'm ready to go.
How have you enjoyed the last 24 hours of the news cycle?
It's been quite the ride, and the fact that it all kind of kicked off at like 3:00 on a Monday in December. It all been going a million miles a minute since then. But if you told some folks back in August, hey, Matt Rhule's biggest win of year one's going to be in December, they'd think bowl game, right? No, portal and recruit flipping and all of this off-field stuff. But here we are. It's been quite a ride, and the rest of the week's going to be pretty interesting.
Honestly, in year one, that's kind of year one plus now going into year two. It's kind of okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, there's still the disappointment from the season and not making the bowl game. But you could really make up for that pretty quickly, as it appears they're trying to do right now. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to have a good December without a bowl game.
Oh, no. I was not trying to give that off as my thought at all. It's definitely it's a quick way to, I'm sure plenty of people were, ready, weren't. It was probably a mixed emotions, thinking about the end of the season, thinking about next year or some roster construction. But I mean, it's going to be, we're still got 9 months to go. It's going to be a lot of ramped up. Looking forward to what the roster could look like and how the season could go.
Yep, I am. Now I'm certainly intrigued. That's for sure. We'll get to the sickos stuff because there's plenty in that category of college basketball this week. But let's talk about Nebraska a little bit. So they respond. What was there a level of surprise at their response after Wednesday night's debacle, and then going into Sunday afternoon against Michigan State? And it just kind of had bad vibes written all over it, but Nebraska was able to put together their best 40 minutes of the year. Were you surprised that they put together a good game on Sunday?
Somewhat. I think that being back at home, and I was mostly surprised by the crowd, but this is Nebraska after all, and it was still pretty full and pretty enthusiastic, and it was it didn't really miss a beat. You wouldn't have guessed based on the atmosphere, that the prior two games to that one had taken place, but for them to everything that we heard from Fred about needing to be the tougher team, the physical team, have a little bit of a killer instinct, and all that had been lacking in the previous two. We saw little glimpses of all of those, I think, and then to be the team that finishes with the highest field goal percentage against Michigan State, who they've had plenty of question marks on offense this year, and they're 4-5, but they've played teams like Duke and Arizona, and they've held them to worse percentages from the field than they did in Nebraska, which is pretty impressive.
My concern, I was making this point yesterday, my concern with them throughout the Hoiberg era has not necessarily been when you bury them, they always find a way to kind of respond off of that. And the question that I really have about them, just as a team and sort of a mentality, is like, how do you respond when things kind of are going your way? And we've already seen, they started off 7-0 and they played really horribly against Creighton, and they played, really well in the first half against Minnesota, and then really horribly in the second half. So I want to get to a place with them where I'm not having to ride that roller coaster. But Sunday didn't necessarily come as a surprise from me because of that reason. I think they always find a way to seemingly respond. Why do you think that is?
That's an excellent question. But I would tend to agree with you that it does seem like, when they're, no matter the team, when their backs are against the wall, they do find a way to respond. And I did try to push back a little bit on the people who had already pre-fired Fred and said the season was over,
or tried to cancel them.
It is still December after all, and it is still December, and Big Ten is still a mess outside of Purdue and maybe Illinois and Wisconsin. So there's still a long way to go. But I think it wouldn't be a Nebraska basketball season without there being a roller coaster of sorts. Even when back to those last couple Miles teams that I had a front row seat to, there was plenty of good and plenty of bad, and it all went hand in hand. But I feel like every Nebraska basketball season has a roller coaster effect to it at some point.
Who's their best player?
Juwan Gary at the moment. I think he has shown that he's made the biggest impact. He he missed the first couple games due to the suspension, what have you. But he, aside from, the entire team missed a beat in those Creighton and Minnesota games. But aside from that, Juwan Gary has been full steam ahead. He's an energy guy. He, just his play around the rim in that Michigan State game. Nebraska was definitely at a size disadvantage, but to have him going in there fighting for boards, amongst Michigan State's bigs, they weren't that great, but they're still pretty dang big guys. And for him to be in amongst the trees, finishing at the rim, fighting for boards, I think he's definitely been the most impactful. And I'd say right now he's their best player.
What do you think is the next, or how do they go about sort of getting Tominaga right? Or I guess, how do they sort of work with him and what they know about him so far this year and I guess going forward?
I think he needs some help, and I'm not saying help in terms of other guys scoring. I think giving the ball to Casey and having him go ISO ball is kind of a recipe for, I don't want to say disaster.
Well, it's just not sustainable. It's not like
it's not sustainable. No. And I was sitting there in the arena on Sunday night, just asking the guys next to me, I'm like, what would it take for someone in a white jersey to just go set a screen? Like, why can someone go out there and help the guy just to give him a little bit of space? He doesn't need much space to get his shot up. It's pretty quick. He's shown he's not not afraid to let him fly. But he go help your all conference player get free. I don't know if they need to draw up a play or a set. I know they don't really run many set plays, but I don't know if they need to have a go-to Casey play. But something like that would be moving in the right direction.
I was encouraged, and I have been encouraged over the last game or so here with Bryce Williams. I think he needs to have he's sort of passive, right? And he plays within the flow of the offense. And I don't mean to say that like in a bad way for him, but I always feel like the more he has his stamp on the game, it feels like a better situation for Nebraska. Like, I want the ball in Bryce Williams' hands more.
Oh, I do too. I think he's definitely the most legitimate basketball cliche, the 3-level scorer.
Yeah.
But I think Bryce Williams is the most legitimate one of those on Nebraska's roster. He hit. That 3 he hit late in the game on Sunday, that took some cojones to pull that one up, and he nailed that one in crunch time. We've seen him show, he's got the mid-range game, and he can put it on the floor, go to the rim. I think he's he's definitely the most legitimate 3-level scorer, and he's just everything he does for the most part is smooth, aside from when he's getting stood over in that Minnesota game or whatever he was doing, grabbing onto the guy's leg.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's got the ball in his hand, everything looks pretty smooth, and I think he does need to be more involved.
What was your favorite item in college basketball sicko land this week? There's a lot of options. Obviously, we were watching very closely the Louisville DePaul game on Saturday, in which we found out that the bottom of the Big East is better than the bottom of the ACC, which is nice, I guess, for the Big East. There was the 108-14 score against the YMCA school that North Dakota State played. You sent me the Will Wade is back video, which was hilarious. Like, what was your favorite thing that happened in Sicko Universe this week?
I think it's pretty close between that North Dakota State score and the Will Wade video. I think that Will Wade video, for those of you who haven't seen it, it has no business being as good as it is. I didn't know McNeese State had that in their social media budget. But if you're going to hire Will Wade, who I'm already anticipating being a rather hot commodity when this season ends and coaching carousel land, if you're going to hire Will Wade, you got to steer all the way into the skid. And they have done that and then some, having him riding a horse and dressing like a cowboy. And that was one of the better things I've seen so far this year.
It was amazing. And then I admittedly, now I didn't. Did you watch any of the Louisville DePaul fiasco on Saturday?
I watched the end of it. I tuned in for the very, very end. Louisville just jacking up so many dumb threes, and
nice.
Looked like when they were in the handshake line, Kenny Payne was laughing. And I'm just like, are you laughing at yourself? What are you doing? And then, I saw the tweet that when DePaul was in their last coaching search, the two finalists for their job were Tony Stubblefield and Kenny Payne.
Amazing.
So that tells you a lot about the current state of DePaul basketball. But yeah, that game was it says a lot. I think that's back-to-back years that Louisville has lost to DePaul to go along with their other notable losses to D2s and exhibition games and bye games at home and all of that. But that dumpster fire just keeps on going, and I think Louisville's just counting down the days until Kenny Payne's buyout drops, which I think it takes until March.
Oh man, that's a long time. It's going to be a long few months. Do we know any further information about the school that North Dakota State decided to bring in and beat by 100 points over the weekend?
They are a very small, very private school in Bemidji, Minnesota. A quick online search tells me that they have an enrollment of less than 100 people at a college, which is ultra small. And they are not in the NCAA; they're in the NCCAA. They're in a Christian School Athletic Association, and they lost. They're probably would be on the low end of the D3 level, and I don't know what led North Dakota State to put them on the schedule, but when you only allow 5 points in one half and 14 for a game, and you win by more than 100, it's just on to the next one. I'm sure. I don't even know if they had to watch film to prep for that game.
Look, I get it. You need games, but my God. Can we come up with something a little bit better? Seriously, it's like a bad look for the Summit League, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's not the greatest. I know a lot of these Summit League teams are trying to get away from being in these bye games, going on the road to Power 5 and getting stomped on. But you've seen the opposite end of the spectrum. It's you take the big check to go to a power conference school and maybe play them close, but probably take a loss, or you bring in a school that's barely a school and win by 100. And what's your team really getting out of that experience?
Yeah, Oak Hill Christian. Luckily, I guess North Dakota State has they roster 20 people and they dress all their walk-ons and stuff, so they just played the majority of the game, and it was still 108-14. But not great. Probably didn't get much accomplished. like you said. Is there anything on your sickos radar for this week, by the way, aside from, waiting until Nebraska plays on Sunday?
Not really.
Not
There's not as many games. I know it's finals time. Nebraska will have the full 7 days off before the trip to K-State. K-State will be coming off 8 days. And then I did see someone say that Kansas State doesn't play another game until January after this game on Sunday. So I don't know.
So they play Wichita and then they're off until January 2nd. So they'll play Sunday against Nebraska and then a neutral court game. I assume it's in Kansas City against Wichita, and then they don't play for basically almost 2 whole weeks.
There you go. No, and then that's it's been an interesting last week or so with K-State basketball, the whole Naquan Tomlin situation, and people getting a little agitated at the university president, Jerome Tang, having to put out a social media video of him on a couch, like all his social media videos, where he's saying we need to stick together and move forward. But I mean, K-State's a really athletic team. Kind of appears Arthur Kaluma is coming into finding his stride after a kind of slow start. He was Big 12 Player of the Year last week, but no, nothing really on the sicko radar right now.
Okay.
But I'm sure if I see something, I will say something.
Just keep a close eye on Louisville and DePaul and all the things that are going on at Louisville and DePaul. A good lesson for everybody. All right, Jacob. Always appreciate the time, my friend, and good luck scouring Twitter and message boards this afternoon. It's due for another fun afternoon.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's good. It's what a time to be alive. What a time to be online as well here in Nebraska. But no, thanks, Hap. I appreciate the time like always. I'll talk to you next week.
Yep, thanks, Jacob. That is Jacob Bigelow of he covers Nebraska for Huskers Illustrated and also has his podcast, the Stretch Big Podcast. All things sickos in college basketball, and of course, Nebraska basketball as well. They kind of sometimes go hand in hand, if we're being honest. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Matt Rhule is on the Pat McAfee show, I think, as we speak. So we'll see if there's anything that comes out of that, if he drops any nuggets in there. Also, a couple other things before we draw closer to 2 o'clock here on the Counter Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Having a hard time finding the perfect gift? Do they eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Then get gift cards for Bailey's Breakfast and Lunch, Shuck's Fish House, and Absolutely Fresh Seafood Market. Order online at absolutelyfresh.com and have one mailed or emailed to the recipient of your choice.
I know my mom does everything she can, but most days we still don't have enough to eat.
Thousands of children in Nebraska and western Iowa are facing hunger. Visit foodbankheartland.org to donate and help nourish hungry families.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Boost Mobile is giving families the holiday gift they really want. When you switch to Boost, you get 4 lines for only $25 per month for each line and 4 free 5G devices to gift, like the Samsung Galaxy A23 or Moto 5G stylus. Only Boost switches between the top networks to give you the best service. So stop by a Boost Mobile store and give the gift of Boost. That's 4 lines for only $25 each. Get it exclusively at your local Boost Mobile store today. Visit boostmobile.com for details. New customers and in-store only. Requires autopay and ID verification. Other restrictions apply. See participating dealers for details.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Tell us how you feel on the J-Tech Construction and Solar Zone Twitter feed. Reach Gary, Nick, Connor, Josh, and John anytime on the J-Tech Construction and Solar Zone Twitter feed. Contact the official exterior and solar experts of the Huskers. J-Tech Construction at yourexteriorexperts.com.
One thing we didn't quite touch on yesterday, today, the little video put out by the tandem video put out by Isaac Gifford and Bryce Benhart yesterday. Do you believe in magic? They're announcing that they are returning for their fifth, Gifford for his fifth year, Benhart for his sixth year of college football. A year ago, if I would have told you Bryce Benhart is coming back for another year, what would your reaction have been? Would have been like, yay, or like, yeah. And now, I mean, I assume it's the latter now. A year ago, it would have been like, yeah. And now the reaction is a little bit different because obviously Bryce Benhart got a little bit better, and Nebraska's offensive line, I think, developed as a whole this past year. And it was also another piece of punctuation on what was an incredible day yesterday. I do wonder sometimes if these things are sort of planned, or like if it's me and I'm sitting on that video, if I'm one of Bryce Benhart or Isaac Gifford, and I'm kind of sitting on the video, I have the video made, I sort of wait until things are kind of whipped up into a frenzy. And I think the players could sort of maybe, you hope that they don't always, but maybe that they could feel that the fan base is sort of, there's a buzz about it right now, and something's going on and things are stirring. And we got recruits tweeting out eyeball emojis and stuff like that yesterday. And so maybe if you're Isaac Gifford or you're Bryce Benhart, you're sitting there and, you know, people are still a little curious about what you're going to do going forward. And you're sitting on that video, you're like, yeah, I think now is a pretty good time. Why not right now? And so they get a couple of those key guys back from next year that they were sort of waiting for. And, you know, before you guys ask me, because I know this will happen, it's like, okay, who else are we still kind of waiting from decisions for at this point? So I'm looking at my scholarship distribution that I try to keep handy and updated at all times, although it gets a little hectic around this time of year.
Yeah.
It is
just a little bit.
It is a spreadsheet, Peterman, but
he loves the spreadsheets.
It is, you know, it's not always 100% accurate. So Marcus Washington was one that I think that they're kind of, Rhule had said that it was going to be a waiver, but it was going to be like a tough waiver, and they weren't exactly sure. Like Grant and I think Fleeks and Kemp are out of eligibility. Reimer is did Luke Reimer say anything yet? Now people might have to help me about that.
Nah, let's see. That's my,
because I'm not, he may not actually have any eligibility left. I'm not even sure. But he was a senior eligibility on this. Newsom is gone. Omar Brown is gone into the draft at this point. Reimer, I don't think he actually has any eligibility remaining at this point. Maybe he can get a waiver for something. I have no idea how that stuff works anymore. But those were like the senior eligibility guys that I had. And then you had the juniors, which those are the guys that we're sort of keeping an eye on. Like what happens with Isaiah Garcia Castaneda. We know Benhart's back. I think Piper's probably done at this point. Ben Scott's coming back. I think Newilly is probably done without knowing for sure. Hutmaker, Ty Robinson are back. Gifford is back. Henrich is done. John Bullock, we're not sure of yet. Buford I haven't heard, so you kind of assume he's back. Singleton's coming off of the injury. Hill's, I think Tommy Hill should probably be back at this point. So there's a couple guys in that junior class where you're like, ooh, I'm not so sure yet. But most of them, as you look down, I have 20 guys listed in that junior eligibility class at this point. Maybe there's more. They seem to be leaning toward coming back at this point, which is obviously a good thing because I think there was a lot of pieces of last year that that really worked, and there was a couple pieces that you could look back on the season and say, all right, yeah, we need a nice solid upgrade here. Hello, running back. Once again, I will sit up here, Peterman, and I will pound the drum, and I will say, quarterbacks are great and everything, and don't get me wrong, 2 thumbs up on the McCord and Dylan Raiola situation. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong on this. But I made the point last week and people like yelled at me about it. Like, if you give me an okay quarterback and a really good running back, I would be more excited about that than that in the reverse. Now I might have to go back on that because if you're giving me Dylan Raiola, like
some things have changed, but
I didn't think he was an option. I didn't think he was available.
And that's fair. That's very fair.
I didn't think he was out there from So some of it is just about, who's available.
But there are some really great portal running back options out there.
Well, yes, there are. And is Nebraska in on any of them? We don't know. We can hope.
One can dream.
But I will still sit here and bang the drum. If Nebraska can finish off this sort of stretch here by getting Kyle McCord, by potentially backdoor signing Dylan Raiola and grabbing an immediate impact running back, other than the ones who are coming back on your roster back from injuries, and I think you'll have access to Gabe Ervin and Ramir Johnson next year. Other than those guys, if you give me an immediate impact, like healthy running back who's produced elsewhere, and once again, I don't know if those guys are out there or not, fire me up. I'm all the way locked in. I'm all the way ready for the 2024 season because I feel like that's a big part of what Nebraska needs. And I feel like they've done, they could probably still use another big body wide receiver or something like that, maybe to help supplement just the roster as it stands right now. Maybe that's out there. Those are probably a little bit easier to come by than a feature running back at this stage of the game anyway. But yeah, then all of a sudden you get yourself a team going into 2024 with a schedule that I don't know
is
I don't know
at least at the beginning more favorable than last year.
Like I said, less. It's not in total more favorable than it was last year.
Yeah, in the grand scheme, like
there's an
later in the year. Yeah,
there's an opportunity to build momentum.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'd call it. There's an opportunity to build momentum. We'll see if anything happens with McCord this afternoon. But Coach Matt Rhule, Matt Rhule, he is on the he's on the Pat McAfee show right now. Which did they take that off ESPN after a while? Like, did they only air an hour of that show live, or I don't know whatever? They're not on right now.
Oh, it's not on there.
They're not on ESPN at the moment. They must go on YouTube only.
Their
after
deal,
a certain amount of time.
Their deal with ESPN confuses me. I don't really understand it, but
Rhule says, "quote When the time comes and you can get a difference maker, you better go get him." This is from Evan Bland. He says, Nebraska coach Matt Rhule on the Pat McAfee show says Nebraska will aim to be 90% high school recruiting and development. Portal ads will be supplemental, but quote, when the time comes and you can get a difference maker, you better go get him. They've been steadfast on this, man. They've been steadfast on the whole development, and then you can supplement the roster as you go. Once again, I'll make the comparison. It sounds an awful lot like a coach that is a little bit closer to us here in Omaha and Greg McDermott. Look what they've built. It's been pretty impressive the way that they've been able to develop their roster and supplement as needed as you go when you have the opportunity. And when you do that, it makes it easier for the player who's coming in to have success because they have a really good understanding and expectation of exactly what is expected for them. So if there's anything else that comes out of it, we'll certainly pass it along and maybe bring it up during the crossover as well. We'll take a break. A couple things to clean up, poll questions if we have any. And we
have 2 poll questions.
Excellent. We'll get to those when we return on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley.
What in the hell is the smell outside?
Yes.
Yes. So if you are just going outside
it's money.
this morning.
You know what that is? It's money.
No.
That's manure.
Hey.
You know.
You're in a gots-to-go situation, manure. Because it's awful outside.
It is bad.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
It's going to be another chilly day for your Tuesday afternoon with cloudy skies and a high temperature in the mid-30s. Straight chance of seeing a flurry in a few isolated areas. Overnight tonight, cloudy skies, and tomorrow, a similar day to today, but temperatures a little warmer, up to about 46 degrees. I'm meteorologist Luke Vickery, KETV Newswatch 7.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Severe for Ted and Wally's, 2 locations, one in Benson and one in the Old Market. Ted and Wally's wants to wish you a wonderful and great happy holidays. Make sure you grab a to-go holiday flavor or pick up desserts for pies and cobblers. Great. Over 3,000 flavors over 35 years. Remember, Taste of New Orleans is in the Benson location as well. You grab you some food and grab you some dessert as well. Whether it's coffee beignet or ooey gooey cake ice cream, hey, out of towners swing by as well. Benson, Old Market, tell them Severe sent you.
Looking for a unique gift for your friends and family? Any size gift card will fit every homeowner or gardener on your list. We're your one-stop shop and homegrown headquarters. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lenaha Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
Good boy. At Cox, we think all customers deserve a reliable connection. So whether you're a loyal customer who's been with us for years, or you're new to the family like this little guy, you'll get the same great deals on the same great internet. And no matter who you are. See how you can save at cox.com/deals for all. Other restrictions apply, all rights reserved.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees. The Source. By your mom's house.
Shop Woodhouse Buick GMC first and experience the difference. They've got a large indoor showroom, 119th and I. You can shop inside during all kinds of weather conditions to find the newer pre-owned inventory that meets your needs. Stylish SUVs that fit the whole family comfortably, the capable trucks to get the job done. Woodhouse Buick GMC has something for everyone, including the GMC Acadia AT4 all-wheel drive with smart slide second row seats, or the stylish 23 Buick Envision preferred all-wheel drive with Buick driver confidence, driver assistance technology that welcomes you into an environment where every tone, texture, and technology conveys the highest level of refinement. See dealer for details on how to save on MSRP or lease deals. Shop Woodhouse Buick GMC first, 119th and I, that huge indoor showroom, or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Meet Cheryl. Hey, she's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Peerless Energy Systems is Nebraska and Iowa's locally owned and operated authorized solar air compressor distributor. Peerless Energy Systems provides products and solutions for compressed air systems, helping companies in manufacturing, food processing, transportation, auto body repair, car dealers, and more. Driving industry efficiency through service, support, and relationships, let Peerless Energy Systems help you increase efficiency with your compressed air systems today. PeerlessEnergy.com.
This time of year, big box tool stores start to sell a whole bunch of not tools, from dancing Santas to plastic trees. At Northern Tool and Equipment, we'd rather sell you a 4-horsepower chainsaw fitted with a full chisel chain to cut down your own tree. And we have wood chippers come January. Because mulch. We're cutting prices on power tools, automotive jacks and stands, and portable inverter generators this holiday season. Save in store or at northerntool.com.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here with Dr. Lance Kugler of Kugler Vision. It's been 5.5 years since I had my procedure done at Kugler Vision. I remember going in for the eye analysis and finding out, hey, there's something other than LASIK.
Well, I think it's important to have a full analysis of the eye so that you can make a good recommendation. A lot of the patients that we see have been told over the years, sometimes a long time ago or sometimes more recently, that there isn't an option for them. And I think that's just because they haven't had as in-depth of analysis as they need to know for sure what their options are.
And I think one of the coolest things about that entire process was how comfortable I felt. And I know as I've talked to other people who had procedures done, they said the same thing, whether it was the consultation, whether it was the day of the procedure, all of those questions were answered. And there was genuine care for me as an individual person.
We all have the same goal. We want you to see as well as you possibly can.
Schedule an eye analysis today, 402-558-2211, or you can visit their website, kuglervision.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
Guys, just checking out. I'm not blocked on the Pat McAfee YouTube show, which is good. YouTube channel.
Access.
Much like you guys aren't if you're commenting with us on the YouTube stream today. Thank you for joining us there. But no, Rhule was on, or he is currently on Pat McAfee's show, and he was giving his elevator pitches to the boys, and he was like, "Hey, look, we're going to be a team to be reckoned with," and they were talking a little bit about the inside baseball of agents and NIL and all that stuff, and now he's moved on to hey, here's why I'm here, and here's why I believe in Nebraska. What a good opportunity for a little bit of promotion for Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule back into promoter mode during the offseason here. Quick text here from Donnie. Here's Donnie. Donnie, are you a co-op? Honestly,
I am not a co-op.
If we load up on all these all-stars and 4-stars and 5-stars and bring them onto our roster, what makes us different from Colorado? Signed, Donnie. I'll tell you what makes Nebraska different from Colorado. It was never just, maybe that's facetious, I don't know. It was never the acquisition of good players that made Colorado interesting. It's not the acquisition of good players, just like it's not the acquisition of players for Nebraska. It's how you build your team. It's how you build your program. What made Colorado so interesting and what made Colorado last year and what makes Dion U is that they kicked everybody off their team last year and then brought in completely new players and then basically are doing it again this year with the exception of a few. They're going to flip their roster constantly. Nebraska is attempting to put forth this system where they have good players on their roster, but the majority of them are developed because they are high school recruits and they have played for a year and 2 and 3 years within the walls of their program and developed at their practices. And then if they are short going into a season like 24 or 25 or 26, if they're like, you know what, we're just we're one corner away. We just need a corner. That's when you go into the transfer portal and you can find a guy there. And it's not necessarily recruiting over the talent that you have on your roster. It is developing it and going from there. Colorado, obviously, vastly vastly different. It's never about the player acquisition and the players that you get. It is about the way that you build your roster. And let's just say this. Both of those coaches have very different views on how you build a roster. That is for sure. I'm not even 100% sure what Dion's view on how you build a roster is.
I don't think anyone really knows. I think only that guy's brain.
I think he's kind of just making it up.
Kind of just vibing.
It's okay. Poll questions at Happer Show on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed, of which we had a couple today. First, brought to you by Michael K. Are eggs bad? No, eggs are good. 87% say no. They agree.
Michael K. definitely in the minority on the egg take.
Michael K. Not only did he not like eggs, he had never had an egg until today.
Which is just insane.
And finally, no, Peter, man, you're going to have to explain this to me. Why did this come up? How have you ever mispronounced the word condiment?
Because he said the ointment instead of condiment.
Oh, the ointment. The ointment. I don't think he was trying to. Well, maybe he just mispronounced it, but he was probably just looking for a word. It's like it is. I mean, it is technically like ointment if it's just goo on a burger.
Yeah, I was curious if like maybe some people in their brains they just replaced the word condiment with something else because it's not really part of the regular vernacular.
Have you ever called condiment ointment? Either way,
that could have been good.
I can't say that I've ever mispronounced condiment that I know of, but I'm sure. I mean, I've mispronounced many words before, so I'll probably just say yes, just to stay safe because I want to keep it honest here. 68% are saying no, that they have never done that before. Okay, those are the poll questions. Peterman, do we have anything to watch tonight? If not, that's fine.
There's a doubleheader for hockey on ESPN tonight. The Red Wings and the Blues at 6:30, and then following that, Blackhawks Oilers on ESPN, and then TNT basketball doubleheader tonight. Not a ton of NBA games, but there is a TNT doubleheader. Lakers Mavericks at 6:30, and then Warriors Suns following that. And then it's obviously Christmas time. All the networks are running Christmas movies. It looks like.
Is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on tonight?
I didn't see Rudolph on there tonight. I'm sure it's on something that I didn't see, but on Freeform they'll have the Grinch, the Jim Carrey Grinch, not the new animated one that is not very popular. I don't think
it's not. It didn't.
I think
turn
it's
out good.
I think
You're a movie guy.
Yeah, I watched it once, but like, why would I ever watch that over the Jim Carrey Grinch? That's where I'm at on that.
Okay.
And I think Elf is on.
Elf is always on
AMC at some point. Yeah,
if
it's pretty much just on loop.
Yeah, if at any point in the next 2 weeks you need to watch Elf, you'll be able to find it.
So a nice blend of sports and holiday movies.
Sports plus Christmas. All right. Thank you, Peter, man. Thanks for sitting in today. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Yes. We'll do it again tomorrow and the day after.
And we'll do it again on Thursday as well. That is it for us. That is the show today. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. By the way, I would recommend go listen to our conversation with Max Olson today. He was really good insight on the portal and sort of the shock and awe of all of it. That was a good conversation. You can find it at 1620thezone.com. The crossover is next.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio,